Hokage give me a face, Chapter 181-200. Chapter 181 Kumogakure's Conspiracy. The meeting was discussed for a long time without discussing any solution. In the end, Danzo reluctantly announced the meeting. Originally, the trigger detonator was Konoha's ace ninja tool. Although it was expensive, Konoha was rich and bought a lot. But other countries are not fools, especially the village of Kumogakure, which has already developed corresponding countermeasures. When the Legion was charging, the ninjas in the front row would output Raiden, Thunder style, towards their feet every time they took a step. The trigger detonator contained the chakra of the Konoha ninja, which was destroyed by Raiden, Thunder style, and immediately lost its effect. That is to say, the expensive trigger-type detonator is not even comparable to the ordinary detonator. If the ordinary detonator is tied to the kunai and shoots, it can at least kill some Kumogakure ninjas. Since the Kumogakure retreated to the station, the perception team composed of the Hyuga family and the Aburame family had to leave the Konoha station and go to the front to investigate the situation of the Kumogakure. During this period, the perception teams on both sides also experienced many small team battles. Konoha's personal strength is strong, the number of Kumogakure is large, and there are winners and losers. After Byakugan's observation, the third generation of Reikage took off the bandage on his right arm, and the Jinchuriki column strength of the two-tailed man completely recovered, but for some unknown reason, after another month, Kumogakure village remained silent. That is to say, for a month and a half, Kumogakure has been staying in the station strictly guarding against vigilance. He could attack Konoha, but there has been no movement. If there was no conspiracy, Yi Xuanxin would not believe it, but what kind of conspiracy was it? Not only Yizan, but everyone felt a crisis in their hearts. Until mid-April, when the comfortable spring was about to end, urgent information finally came from the back of the battlefield. What? The transport logistics team was attacked by Kumogakure's troops of more than 200 people. All destroyed. Danzo's eyes widened in disbelief, as if he remembered something. He suddenly turned to look at Hyuga Soji. Zongji, the perception team has always been under your control. Kumogakure village sent more than 200 people, why didn't you find it? Sir Danzo, the subordinates really didn't find out. The subordinates can swear with their lives that so many people did not leave the Kumogakure station. It was definitely not done by the people in the Kumogakure station. Hyuga Zongji knelt down on one knee and felt a little panic in his heart. He clearly monitored the Kumogakure station. Although he couldn't monitor it for a short time due to many encounters with the perception team, the number of people stationed was still so many. Don't blame Zongji, it wasn't the Kumogakure Corps that attacked our logistics team. Xiaozan. Yizan's words attracted everyone's attention. He nodded solemnly, got up and walked to a map. At their speed, if they want to attack the transport team behind us, a week is enough, but because of Byakugan's surveillance, it is difficult for them to send people to attack, but there is another possibility. Yizan pointed to the rear of the country of thunder, pointed to Kumogakure village, and drew a long arc, across the ocean, across the easternmost point of the country of soup, and finally to the country of fire. This, you mean? It should be the order of the third generation of Reikage, just send one ninja back to Kumogakure village to inform the 3,000 ninjas left behind, assign more than 200 people, after a long sea crossing to reach Dongji Island in the country of Yuno, and then cross the country of Yun and enter the country of fire on the frontier, since the extreme east of the land of soup is too far away from us. Even Byakugan can't see it, they spent so much time attacking our logistics team and demoralizing us. Then what should we do now? We must send people back to help, and we must exterminate the more than 200 Kumogakure ninjas in the country. Without supplies, everything is over. Okay, then. Report Danzo-sama. Just then, a Jonin suddenly rushed into the camp and fell to one knee. Kumogakure village is attacking. On the vast wasteland at the junction of the land of the soup and the land of the moon, the 5,000 ninjas in the village of Kumogakure are like rainbows. Danzo, Yizan and others looked at him from a distance and found that the face of the third-generation Reikage was calm and full of confidence. I didn't expect the muscle pimples in Kumogakure village to come up with these schemes, I miscalculated. Yizan was ashamed. He was a little relaxed during this time, chatting and playing with slugs in the tent all day, which is not a good thing. Don't blame yourself. When everyone makes mistakes, take the enemy seriously. After this fight is over, prepare to retreat. Danzo sighed softly, still feeling a little pity in his heart. If this position was abandoned, all that was left was the border position of the Fire Nation, but today we had to retreat no matter what, and without food supplies, the finally stable military morale would definitely collapse. This kind of thing does not need the other party to say. Just now, Danzo has told everyone about the attack on the transport team, and issued the latest order. After the battle, he immediately retreated to the third position and stabilized in another way. Legion's Heart. The third position can be counterattacked. After fighting for so long, Uzumaki Liushin and his Uzumaki tribe should have arranged a lot of sealing techniques in the third position, plus the power of Kyubi 9 tails they can fight a counterattack. But now, let's drain the power of Kumogakure village first. Yuhi, Kumogakure and Konoha has accumulated from the death of Senju Tobarama to the present, and the momentum has accumulated enough. The 3 generations of Reikage's pupils froze and waved his arms violently. Kill. Boom. Like a torrent, like the ocean, like. The power supply at home is leaking. 5,000 Kumogakure ninjas burst out lightning at almost the same time, forming a lightning resonance to kill Konoha. The detonating talisman, kunai. Throw it. Shish. More than 2,000 kunai tore through the sky and flew towards Kumogakure overwhelmingly, each of which was tied with a detonating talisman, as if more than 2,000 bombs were exploding. Disperse. Third generation of Reikage shouted, and more than 2,000 ninjas turned into more than 2,000 black shadows and dispersed to the left and right. The vast wasteland had an endless horizon. Free fire. The second free fire finally killed more than 100 slow response ninjas. At this moment, Kumogakure finally rushed under the high slope. Danzo immediately hand seal, and the cage-level momentum burst out. The art of psychic. Boom. A loud bang, the dream taper was released. Seeing that Reikage was less than 500 meters away, Danzo jumped on the dream taper. Except for the sunset of the Grandmaster demonic illusion, all the other elites rushed towards the 3 generations of Reikage at the same time. Shaozan, the third generation of Reikage is handed over to us. The rest of the enemies are up to you. Chapter 182-Night Moon Eye. Idiots of Kumogakure village, give me face and surrender to Konoha. Sage mode, on. Futon wind style mode, on. The powerful momentum suddenly surged, and Yizan was surrounded by violent hurricanes. Sage mode strengthened the power of all spells. Swish. Like a blue light, Yizan rushed out 100 meters in an instant. Kumogakure Chunin fell to the ground with blood spattered along the way. The Jonins also covered their arms in horror, and one of the ordinary Jonin was even half a beat slower. When he reacted at that time, his left hand was cut in two by the passing wind blade. Boom. One punch. One strike. An elite Jonin was punched through the abdomen by Yizan, and it seemed that he could not survive. Sage mode is really awesome. Not only has it strengthened the power of ninjutsu, but it has also strengthened my physique. This power, tisk tisk tisk. You must know that Yizan, who has turned on the Sage mode, can deal with the existence of the 3-generation Reikage. Although he can't beat the opponent, what level of the 3-generation Reikage is, even Danzo and others are not their opponents. Little Devil is mad. With a loud shout, an ordinary Jonin with dark skin rushed to Yizan's side instantly, and his huge fist burst into dazzling thunder. Thunder Fist. Boom. The thunder hit Yizan with great force, but he couldn't even hit the dent in Futon's wind-style armor. Yizan just threw a Byakugan in disdain and flew up. The ordinary Jonin only saw a phantom. Severe pain penetrates the brain. Ah! He screamed and flew upside down, spitting out blood, the bones in his heart protruding from his back, stabbing his entire heart in the opposite direction. Shimura Gen. The familiar roar made Yizan stunned for a moment, and a smile flashed across the corner of his mouth. He saw a man covered in thunder in the distance rushing towards him, and he suddenly cancelled the futon wind style mode. Raiden Thunder Style Mode, on. The violent thunder blooms, with the blessing of Sage Art Chakra. Yizan is not afraid of the thunder destroying the cells. In the distance, Yaoi is shocked, but he does not slow down. Instead, his strength explodes again, like lightning, and instantly rushes to Yizan's body forward. Call out. The thunder light passed. Yizan hit the air. He was slightly stunned, looked up. Yi actually took off at the last second and jumped into the air. Go to hell. Leiju level Chio dance. He raised his palm high and turned it into a charged hand knife and slashed towards Yizan fiercely. This was his strongest attacking move at the moment. Facing Yizan, he did not dare to release water at all. Strong is quite strong, but you do this, but there is no way back. Looking at the hand knife that was cut off in an instant, Yizan blinked his eyes slyly, and suddenly stretched out his right hand, and a terrifying thunder burst out on his index finger. ZZZ. One of a kind. What? Impossible. Lord Raikage's trick. How can this kid do it? The sudden appearance made the surrounding Kumogakure stunned, and when they found that the sure-killing one-handed hand rushed towards Yaoi, an elite Jonin next to him immediately shouted. Don't fight hard. Get out of the way. No need for him to remind him. Yaoi had already reacted, but he jumped high in the air, and his knife was about to hit Yizan. At this time, he was called to dodge. How could he dodge? Boom. With a loud bang, Benguansho and Leiju level Chio Wu slammed into each other fiercely. The two powerful ninjutsu collided violently for a second. The palm knife broke, and Yizan's fingers pierced Yi's body directly. Thunder armor. Ah! Yi screamed. His palm was pierced by Yizan. The severe pain made his face grim, and his character inherited the 3 generations of Raikage. Such pain not only did not make him give up the attack, but instead used all his strength to kick Yizan back a few steps, and the ruthlessness in his heart made him even more ignorant. Because of the strong momentum, the thunder armor on his body became more and more dense, almost comparable to Yizan. Oh, the understanding of Raiden Thunder Style mode has been promoted at this time. Too bad. You are just an elite Jonin. Yizan smiled and suddenly changed his nature. The blue hurricane sounded again, blowing the surrounding sand and stones. Feng Klai, I was just playing around. Since you broke through, I'll be serious tilde. He smiled, and the Yuhi-colored lines on his cheeks also curved a little. Sage mode gave him extremely strong fighting power, and he really didn't care about Yaoi. Let's get started. Yizan's strength finally made Yi calm down. He glanced at Jonin, an elite behind Yizan, as if he had already made preparations. At that moment, the guy named B burst into Raiden Thunder Style mode. Go. Call out. Call out. The two rushed towards Yizan at the same time. Yi injured his palm, but still used his right hand. He bent his arm, revealing his dark and sturdy elbow. Raiden Thunder Style. Absolute Bull Thunder Plow Hot Knife. The two of them roared at the same time. The powerful power and cooperation made the 3 generations of Raikage and Danzo in the distance also have a glimpse of the peripheral vision. The next second, a spiral blue light suddenly burst out from Yizan's fingertips. The light was not strong, as if he was just wearing the wonderfully crisp corners at the fingertips are sharp and small, but terrifying. Appeared Shimura Gen's strongest trick. Jonin, who couldn't get his hands on him next to him, was startled, and looked at Yi with worried eyes. Since Yizan has been active on several battlefields for a long time, most of his information in ninjutsu world already know Akatsuki, especially this trick is S-rank ninjutsu with broken face, although the instant damage is better than a book. It's weaker, but the persistence and tearing attributes make this move even more terrifying. And, not afraid, Yizan is even more afraid. relying on his futon wind-style armor. Seeing that the three of them are about to collide, suddenly, the ground where Yizan was standing suddenly cracked. The breath of cage level surged from the bottom to the top instantly, making a huge depression in Yizan's futon wind-style armor. Yizan staggered, and his body became unbalanced. Great opportunity. Yi and B eyes lit up, and they speeded up again. Their elbows hit Yizan's neck at the same time. What if I hit it? I'll get hurt. The attacks of the two top elites, Jonin. The futon wind-style armor became more and more dented. Jinchuriki column force from two tails. Sneak attack on me. I'm going to kill you. Chapter 183 Return to the third defense. Roar. Huge-tailed beasts swept across the battlefield, killing anyone, whether Konoha or Kumogakure. Yizan stepped aside and jumped proudly when he saw the landscape he created. Just now, his spiral thrust stabbed straight into the ground, hitting the head of Jinchuriki column Lee, the two-tailed man. The danger of death made Jinchuriki column Lee, the two-tailed man, take the initiative to open the seal and release the two tails. The huge amount of chakra that surpassed the cage level flung Yizan into the air, and the attack finally failed, but it was enough, and the second tail was released, and Kumogakure's attack this time was doomed to fail. Waste. Third generation of Hokage roared, and his eyes flashed with blazing flames. Since the second tail appeared in the Kumogakure ninja circle, the Kumogakure killed by the second tail were several times more than Konoha. Call out. Lightning flashed, the third generation Hokage retreated hundreds of meters, and suddenly appeared on Erwei's head, with terrifying killing intent in his eyes. One of a kind. Puff. The terrifying thunder slashed Erwei into a huge wound, and Erwei screamed and roared, and immediately focused his attention on the third generation of Hokage. Shaozan. Sound. Danzo and a group of elites gathered around Yizan. Danzo gasped violently. As the main force holding down the three generations of Hokage, he felt very tired. Do you want to go back? No, no retreat. Yizan opened his mouth and pointed to the distance. His voice was filled with unprecedented excitement. Look, the third generation of Hokage has been pinned down by Erwei, and the top combat power of Kumogakure village is gone. Attack. Attack. Take this opportunity to blow up Kumogakure. Morale. Stinky brat, you're getting worse and worse. Jiraiya, if I were you, I would have committed suicide by buying a piece of tofu long ago. I don't know who it is, but I dare to bind Hokage across 2 levels, idiot. You. Okay, don't quarrel. Danzo waved his hand to stop the quarrel between the two. If it really started, it wouldn't subside for a few minutes. Shaozan is right, now is the time to attack, go. Take this opportunity to destroy their morale. Xiaoshuan defeated the two-tailed Jinchuriki column force. The two-tailed Jinchuriki column force released the second-tailed. Kumogakure was completely confused. Ah. This idiot Jiraiya was actually scratched by a kunai, and I wasted my investigation. Carrot. Quote. The slug waved her tentacles in dissatisfaction, making her bounce on Tsunade's shoulders. It's okay, didn't you agree? Next time you meet him, punch him first. I'll count yours and punch him twice. On the front line of the Kingdom of the Wind, Tsunade was busy dispensing medicines in the medical shed. Just 3 days ago, a major event happened on the front line. Originally, Hitaki Sakumo was only promoted to cage level, and he is not yet proficient in the feeling of cage level, but as he fought against Kazekage again and again on the battlefield, his strength is also constantly improving. After stabbing Kazekage last time, the second nearly cut off Kazecage's arm. Death. Kazekage began to flee, and he ordered Chiyo and the entire puppet army to stand against Hitaki Sakumo. Hitaki Sakumo is the nemesis of the puppet master, not to mention a group of jonin. In order to resist Hitaki Sakumo, the puppet troops suffered heavy casualties, and the most important thing is Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law were killed by Hitaki Sakumo. Chiyo was crazy, and the poison he made day and night became stronger and harder to crack, which made Tsunade have to stay up all night and carefully study the method of interpretation. The great thing about the puppet master is that as long as it attacks the enemy, even if it just cuts a wound, as long as the enemy cannot detoxify, the probability of death is 100%. In order to reduce the death rate of Konoha ninjas, Tsunade never rested again. She stayed up late, and slugs had to stay up late with this stupid woman. Who are you calling stupid? It's you who said it, Tilda. Slug blinked, and immediately changed his tone after seeing Tsunade's terrifying gaze. Xiaozan said it. I'm only responsible for spreading the word, not my business. Xiaozan, that bastard. Tsunade never thought that the slug would lie. She bit Kiba tightly and yelled angrily, "Send me a message, tell him, I'm going to beat him, beat him." After Tsunade finished speaking, she started to make the potion again. After a few seconds, she suddenly looked at the slug with a doubtful tone. Hasn't Xiaoshuan returned to me yet? According to his character, he should scold me back, right? This. Tsunade's question suddenly made Slug nervous. Xiaozan. He just slept. He said good night to you, Tilda. Sleep. Good night. Tsunade was stunned for a moment, scratching his head inexplicably. No, it's afternoon, and you didn't say just now that they were fighting. Why did you suddenly fall asleep? After Tsunade finished speaking, the slug was completely stunned. He lied in a hurry just now, but he actually forgot about the live broadcast of the battlefield before. Slug, you lied to me. You call me a stupid woman. You listen to my explanation, Tilda. I don't listen. Humph. Tsunade lost his temper in the medical shed, and on the Land of Thunder, the Konoha Corps finally retreated. Not that Danzo wants to retreat, it's mainly that the third-generation Hokage cleaned up the second tail unscathed, and glanced at Danzo again. So far, Konoha has killed 800 ninjas since the expedition. Although Kumogakure is even worse, with 1,500 dead and injured, the gap between the two sides is still very large, and the logistics team is completely destroyed. They must retreat, go to the border of the Fire Nation. Retreat. Danzo chose to retreat, but Hokage did not stop him. The two-tailed Jinchuriki column was in a coma, Yaui's right palm was dripping with blood, and the morale of the Legion was low. The junction of the Country of Fire and the Country of Soup is Konoha's third defensive position. After a day and night of retreat, the Konoha ninja finally arrived at the defensive position. Reached the defense, Uzumaki Ryayama and a large group of genin greeted him. Lord Danzo. Patriarch Liushin, how is the situation? Danzo's tone was serious. The second position was lost, and this was the last line of defense. Sorry, Mr. Danzo, the Thunder Sealing Formation is an S-rank forbidden technique, and only I can perform it in the Uzumaki clan. In the past 2 months, the clansmen and I have buried a few kilometers away from the defensive line, but perhaps the effect is not very good. At most it is used as a trap. Quote. Chapter 184 Who is in charge? The sealing technique can only be used as a trap, which Danzo has long anticipated. Seriously, apart from Uzumaki Liushin, he really looked down on other Uzumaki clansmen. He didn't even have an elite jonin. Even with the help of a powerful sealing technique, he didn't expect to be able to exert much power. It doesn't matter, Patriarch Liushin, it's not bad to be able to set up traps to deplete the enemy's strength. So, how about Mawako? Can the cooperation between the two of you work? Danzo asked here. His face was very serious. Uzumaki Liushin also became serious. He was silent for a long time, and nodded hesitantly. I have put some control-type seals on Mawako. Mawako has been training in Anbu for more than a month, and the fighting skills are enough to show off on the battlefield. I can control the power within 3 tails of Kyubi, 9 tails, but if it becomes 4 tails. Having said this, Uzumaki Liushin hesitated again, and his tone finally became a little unconfident. When the 4th tail appears, Mawako will become a human-shaped tailed beast. This span seems to be only a tail gap, but 05 Kyubi, 9 the power of tails, will be qualitatively improved, and you are entering the cage level for the first time. But Miwako's own strength is only genin. Even if I lead the control, the probability that Miwako can control her mind is less than 30%, then. Understood. Try to limit yourself to 3 tails, and if you have to, I'll let you know. Danzo made a quick decision, which made Uzumaki Ryushin feel a little relieved. At this moment, Konoha ninjas entered the camp one after another. After 2 months of careful construction, the camp is not only spacious, but also has complete facilities. Shaozan, the injured are looking at you. Well, I'll come. When retreating, the body of the slug had already returned to the bone forest. Yizan pulled the scroll, bit his finger and slapped hard, and a slug several meters high appeared in front of everyone. Shaozan tilde. Well, treat the injured. Yizan signaled. The slugs immediately divided into dozens of small slugs, except for one that climbed onto Yizan's shoulder. The rest got into the medical shed. There are not many injured people this time, and my mental strength can withstand it. Then, you talk first. Don't disturb me if you have nothing to do. Yizan waved at Danzo and followed a genin into his tent. He took out a set of loose clothes and put them on from the storage scroll, crossed his legs, and put his hands on his knees. You don't need to concentrate when transporting chakra, but now the movement is the fastest. Yizan looked left and right, and yawned a little bored. Yizan was bored, and the slug was also bored. She yawned after Yizan, her 2 tentacles swaying weakly. Shaozan, it's so boring. The clone is outside and the main body is outside. When will you summon my main body? I'll call you out after treating these people. There are not many injured people this time, and they can be cured in about half a day tilde. Yizan tilted his head and thought for a while, and said again, you go to my dad's place to see if you are a clone. They should be having a meeting. You can help me do a live broadcast and convey my opinions or suggestions by the way. Yizan is familiar with Danzo. In terms of Danzo's character, the first thing must be a meeting. The so-called know yourself and the enemy. You will not be imperiled in 100 battles. If you know yourself and do not know the enemy, you will win half first. If you do not know yourself and you do not know the enemy, then you will bet luck. Danzo is used to winning half first, so he held a meeting to know the current situation of Konoha clearly. When the slug entered the central greenhouse, Danzo was in a meeting. Konoha ninjas so far. Danzo glanced at her, pointed to the seat reserved for Yizan, and turned to look at the map. Everyone, the most important thing at the moment is the more than 200 Kumogakure in the country of extermination. They attacked our transport team. If we don't exterminate them, once the food is exhausted, we will lose. Danzo said in a condensed voice. I support this. Who to send? Asked Mitarashi Zishao. I'll go. Jiraiya raised her hand carelessly, obviously wanting to take the credit for this time. Don't let this idiot go. The sudden sound made Jiraiya stunned. He turned his head stupidly, staring at the slug on the table with a puzzled face. Oh, sorry, I didn't say this sentence. It was Xiaoshuan who said it tilde. The slug was jumping on the table, 2 tentacles dancing happily, looking very happy. Xiaoshuan said, Jiraiya is a big idiot. His IQ is low and his strength is poor. He is not allowed to accept such an important task. Damn stinky brat. Don't people want to mock me if I'm not here? Where is my strength? Where is my IQ low? It's abominable. Jiraiya clenched her fists and stared at the slug fiercely, but the slug was not afraid, and the small eyes at the top of the tentacles turned Byakugan, looking very disdainful. It's your own expression. No, this is Xiaoshuan's expression. He just did it in the tent. I just imitated it tilde. The slug lied without shame and turned Byakugan 083 towards Jiraiya again. Xiaoshuan said, binding the 3 generations of Reikage with his hair. Doing such stupid things is enough to see how low your IQ is. You were seriously injured by the punch of 3 generations of Reikage, enough to see how weak you are. Oh, I am not targeting you, Zongji, you are also weak. Quote. Hyuga Zongji, who was lying on the side with a gun, nodded aggrievedly, but in the face of Yizan's accusation, what else could he do but accept it? Hey, Zongji, do you have the guts? You just admit it. Sorry Jiraiya, I have a suggestion for you. You should admit your mistake to Lord Zontilda. Impossible. How could I admit my fault to the stinky brat? Absolutely impossible. The original serious atmosphere was broken by Jiraiya and Slug. Looking at the noisy scene, Danzo sighed helplessly again, feeling tired. I don't know how to quarrel for a long time, until Jiraiya finally stopped talking. Danzo returned from the mind wandering. Looking at Jiraiya's sullen look, Danzo turned his eyes directly to the Slug. Xiaozan, since you are against Jiraiya taking the mission, who do you think will be responsible for destroying that group of Kumogakure? Needless to say, of course it's me. Chapter 185-East Pole Island. The most eastern part of the land of soup is a place called Dongji Island. At 8:30 in the morning, starting from Laomen Pier in the east of Yuno country, after 2 hours of sea bumps, Yizan came here with 100 ninjas. Ferry tickets are so expensive. Each ticket costs 2,000 taels. 100 people of us ride on a boat, which is equal to the reward for AB level mission. Yizan scolded the fishermen on Dongji Island for being black-hearted. Of course, they didn't have a boat. They came by the fishermen's boat. Yizan believed that the group of Kumogakure ninjas who attacked the convoy came from the port of the Land of Thunder. Dongji Island is very possibly hiding their boat. Follow me carefully, search with all your might, and find their ship before the Kumogakure chops come back. With a wave of Yizan's right hand, 100 ninjas scattered in all directions in an instant. Dongji Island is not small, and even if it takes 100 people to search, it will not be completed in a few hours. When Yizan arrived at Dongji Island, the last 1,000 ninjas stationed in Konoha and the more than 2,000 ninjas at the border of the Land of Fire set off towards the transport line at the same time, mighty and mighty, with no intention of concealing their whereabouts. Boss, Konoha's got us. Konoha's whereabouts were discovered by several birds in the sky, and a Kumogakure immediately sent the information in a hidden cave in the forest of the Land of Fire. Damn, is Konoha crazy? I remember that the more than 1,000 people stationed there are the last force of Konoha, and they are all sent out. What if Konoha is attacked by the enemy? There are more than 2,000 people on the front line, how can they all be covered? Come here, are you kidding me? The man at the head widened his eyes in shock, completely disbelieving in his heart. Since entering the country of fire, these 200 people belonged to the deep hinterland and could not get news from the outside world, let alone the battle between Konoha and Kumogakure. Boss, how dare I lie to you? I'm telling the truth. Both sides are encircling and suppressing them, obviously preparing to carry out a carpet search to catch us all. If we don't escape, we will be dead. The ninja's words caught the Kumogakure boss, silent for a long time, and finally nodded. You are right, our original mission was to attack the convoy. Since the convoy is dead, our mission has been completed. We stayed here mainly to threaten the Konoha front line and shake the Konoha's military heart. If you want to surround and suppress us, we don't need to die here in vain. Let's go, everyone gathers. Back to the Land of Thunder. Quote. Be able to take more than 200 ninjas thousands of miles to attack the rear of Konoha, the leader of the team must be the smarter guy in Kumogakure. He did not choose to be reckless with the thousands of Konoha, and quietly left the forest with more than 200 people, which took 2 whole days. Time to get rid of the Konoha ninjas tracking, and finally successfully cross the border of the country of fire and enter the country of soup. After entering the country of Yuno, the Kumogakure ninja only took half a day to arrive at the eastern port of the country of Yuno, and they quickly crossed the sea by boat to Dongji Island. Successful escape. Ha. Killed the Konoha transport team and got rid of the pursuit of thousands of Konoha people. This time, Lord Raikage will definitely reward us. A ninja said happily, and his words made everyone happy. Even the leader of the team cracked his mouth and patted the ninja on the shoulder. You kid. After I go back, I will pay for it myself. Please have a good meal everyone. Quote. Thank you boss. Everyone was so happy that they didn't notice that a group of people were crawling in the grass on the high mountain in the center of the island a few kilometers away. "They're here." Hyuga Soji's eyes were horrified, and Byakugan continued to open. "Stinky brat, you're right, you're amazing." Jiraiya smacked her lips, a little envious. "Nonsense. I'm not good, are you good? Is Hyuga Soji good?" Yizan glanced at Jiraiya disdainfully, and then glanced at Hyuga Zanji. Because he was seriously injured by the 3-generation Raikage blow, Jiraiya and Hyuga Zanji were both classified as spicy chicken by Yizan, which made them very wronged. The baby is wronged, but the baby does not say. The two thought aggrieved, and involuntarily glanced at each other, with a sense of identity in their eyes. Yizan on the mountain in the center of the island was constantly despising Jiraiya, and on the shore, the Kumogakure ninja came to an empty beach along the coast. Solution. The leader of Kumogakure, Hand Seal, drank lowly. The next moment, the endless air suddenly produced faint ripples. After a while, the ripples disappeared, and a huge sea ship appeared in front of everyone. "Boss, your demonic illusion barrier is still so powerful. If we hadn't known it from the beginning, we wouldn't have noticed it at all." A Jonin flattered and made the leading elite smile a little smugly. "Come up. The dry food and clean water left on the boat is enough for us to return to the Land of Thunder. We don't need to prepare anything else, we're ready to go." The Kumogakure ninjas didn't notice it at all. When they boarded the boat one after another and were about to start the boat, there was some movement on the mountain a few kilometers away. Yizan took 100 ninjas and quickly rushed down the mountain. "Sail, set sail." The canvas was pulled up, the anchor was retracted, and with a gust of wind, the ship gradually moved away from the shore. Just when the ship left the shore for about 200 meters, a Kumogakure ninja screamed and suddenly pointed to Dongji Island. "Boss, the people of Konoha." The word, Konoha, was too shocking. At that moment, more than 200 Kumogakure ninjas rushed to the side of the boat and looked at the people on the beach. "That kid is Shimura Gen. And Jiraiya. What's going on? How did they know that we are on Dongji Island? And the Hyuga clan? If there is Byakugan, wouldn't we be under the surveillance of each other all the time? Why don't they attack us? Because there aren't enough people. No, run." An extremely dangerous feeling came to his mind, and the Kumogakure leader's pupils shrank sharply, and his whole body chakra exploded instantly, condensing into Raiden Thunder-style armor. At the same time, Yizan on the shore suddenly bowed his hands with a smile, and twisted his ass proudly. "You strong Kumogakure, there will be no deadline in the future." Detonation Talisman, burst. Chapter 186_Wrong Jiraiya. 230 ninjas, including 30 elite Jonin and 100 Jonin. I will divide the merits into 30, and whoever pays the highest price will get one. On the shore, Yizan lay comfortably on the beach. As early as 2 days ago, they deciphered the demonic illusion barrier set up on the beach, and entered the ship and buried 20,000 detonating talismans. The big explosion just now, except for a few elite Jonin, was seriously injured, and all the rest of the ninja died. It's not fair. This is the merits of 100 people. You can't just give it to 30 people. And you actually auctioned the merits. You are so abominable. Jiraiya glared at Yizan, while Yizan just yawned yawningly, not wanting to explain at all. Idiot Jiraiya, Xiaoshuan is the person in charge of this operation. What he says is what he says. If you don't want to, you can refuse to bribe Xiaoshuan. The slug on Yizan's belly glanced at Jiraiya disdainfully and waved his tentacles, looking very lively. Little slug is right. Anyway, 100 people fight for 30 battle merits. One more than you is not much, one less of you is a lot. Love can't come. Oh right, you guys get the merits directly, you don't need to bribe me. 487 Yizan pointed to several elite Jonin. These people reacted the fastest. They rushed to the ship as soon as the explosion ended, killing the few Kumogakure who were not seriously injured, including the leader. Who killed the leader? I tell Surzan, I killed it. Well, a big credit for you. Master Zan, my subordinates dare not ask for any credit. All this is Master Zan's plan, so I have to wait for me to complete this mission unscathed. I want my subordinates to say that these credits are all due to Master Zan. After the man finished speaking, the atmosphere of the whole beach changed suddenly, not solemn, but Master Zan, Hai is right, we dare not take credit for your credit, the subordinates have no contribution at all, these are all of Master Zan. Master Zan, my subordinates only want to do my best for the sake of the master, and I don't dare to take credit. A group of Jonin with the brightest heads surrounded Yi Zan and kept flattering, which made Jiraiya snort unhappily. He knew that he couldn't get Yi Zan, and after thinking about it, he immediately turned his attention to the slug. Slug, you just glanced at me disdainfully and said I'm an idiot. You have no excuses this time. Jiraiya glared at the slug fiercely, but the slug didn't panic, and shook the tentacles gently. Did you mean what I just said? I'm sorry, my other avatar is doing a live broadcast for Tsunade-sama. I despise you. It's actually Tsunade-sama's actions tilde. This. Hearing that Tsunade was calling himself an idiot, Jiraiya closed his mouth immediately. He dared to fight Yi Zan, but if it was Tsunade. The thought of the opponent's fist, he shuddered all over and decided to retreat. Jiraiya didn't know that, due to the power of Hatake Sakumo, the Konoha Corps of the Wind Country Front had pushed Sand Ninja beyond the border of the Fire Country and is currently at war in the River Country. That is to say, on the front of the Kingdom of Wind, Konoha gradually changed from a disadvantage to a slight advantage, and at this moment, the Konoha Legion is counterattacking Sand Ninja in a big way, and Tsunade has no time to listen to the live broadcast here. Is very proud of how she has successfully deceived Jiraiya by lying repeatedly. She decides to bully Jiraiya often in the future. Cooperate with Xiaoshuan, see Jiraiya once, bully once. More than 200 troops composed of Jonin and elite Jonin are not a small number, and the 3 generations of Raikage do not know that this army has been wiped out by Konoha. On Konoha's side, Yi Zan had already returned to the 3rd position with the team, and finally distributed the credit to all the members. With Yi Zan's status, he didn't need these credits for a long time, plus the Jonin's flattery, he was in a good mood, and Danzo made a credit on everyone's credit book. Well, except Jiraiya. Damn brat, you're targeting me. Jiraiya jumped and cursed, but what she got was Yi Zan and Slug's Byakugan. Slug, you definitely took the initiative to despise me this time. Yeah, because you're so stupid, it's respect for you to despise you. Slug slapped his tentacles with a smug tone. Ever since she made up her mind to bully Jiraiya, she let go of her psychological burden and started mocking Jiraiya openly. Jiraiya couldn't do anything about the slug's ridicule, he could only snort lightly and turn his head to express his dissatisfaction. Humph. You Tsunare is useless, you were ugly and wretched, and now you are Tsunare, you have so many problems. Ah. Slug, I hate you. Jiraiya never thought that the slug was more than Yi Zan's taunting. He was angry and dissatisfied. In the following days, he forcibly avoided Yi Zan and the slug, and followed the Perception Scout team to investigate the movements of the Kumogakure Corps. Since the Ninja World War was being fought on 3 fronts at the same time, the news dissemination in the 3 places was extremely delayed. The Konoha side of the 2 fronts of Kase and Lei was better. There was slug communication, and the 2 legions knew each other's situation. Konoha has slugs, the other 3 countries don't. For example, in the Land of Earth, all the information Onoki got here was information from 4 or 5 days ago. He had no idea that the Land of Wind suffered a counterattack by Konoha 3 days ago, nor did he know that the Land of Thunder had consumed Konoha. A large amount of Kumogakure combat power was still forced to withdraw from the 2nd position. The front of the Kingdom of Thunder was the most tragic, and the number of deaths was several times that of the other 2 fronts. So far, the front of the Kingdom of Wind had only a few hundred casualties on both sides. On the front of the Kingdom of Earth, due to Sarutobi's steady tactical style, both sides played very slowly. Sarutobi is a Doden Earth-style expert, and Onoki is a Doden Earth-style expert. The two are old rivals and they know each other well. Although Sarutobi is supported by 8 demons, Onoki has Jinten particle style and Sarutobi is only stronger than Onoki. I didn't expect Konoha to have such great perseverance. Damn Sarutobi. If things go on like this, in a few years, Konoha won't be defeated at all. Onoki lost his temper in the tent, and the elites around him bowed their heads and dared not speak. Since Sarutobi is Hokage, with this name, the legion he leads is naturally more tenacious and morale than the other 2 Konoha legions. Just when the atmosphere of the camp was a little silent, an elite Jonin suddenly stood up. Lord Tsuchikage, I have an idea. Chapter 187_fart. What conspiracy is in the land of the land, Yi-zan does not know. Because he put all his attention on his own front. The earth is shaking. The ninjas of Konoha stared at Yuan Fang with solemn faces. On the horizon in the distance, rows of figures gradually appeared, with a calm and terrifying look. Why is Kumogakure's morale still so strong? Mitarashi Zishou muttered to himself, with a hint of unconfidence on his face. Maybe they feel that they have destroyed our logistics team. They should regain their confidence. Hyuga Soji frowned slightly. Not necessarily, I personally think. This kind of aura doesn't seem to fit the characteristics of Kumogakure village. Jiraiya dragged her chin to think, but his words made Yi-zan glance at him in surprise. I didn't expect, Jiraiya, you will understand one day. Humph. What do you mean? I've always been smart, I just don't want to show it. Hearing Yi-zan's admiration, Jiraiya raised her chin slightly, her face full of pride. Good dog, come, open your mouth Tilda. Ah, Jiraiya subconsciously grabbed the biscuit that Yi-zan handed over, her body shook, she suddenly understood, and spit out the biscuit fiercely. Stinky brat, you are courting death. He clenched his fists angrily, and his eyes were on fire, but Yi-zan just cowardly shouldered and pointed at the people around him. Only then did he realize that everyone around him was looking at him strangely, that kind of eyes. This is a misunderstanding. Jiraiya covered her face with her hands, wishing she could find a crack to burrow in. The dignified atmosphere was also broken by Jiraiya. Yi-zan glanced at Jiraiya with contempt, then looked straight ahead, towards the thousands of enemies. Just now Jiraiya was right about one thing, the other party showed a kind of calm, chi, walking step by step, a united force, but 3 generations of Reikage may be calm. Everyone is not a fool, but they are not fully enlightened. When Yi-zan pointed it out, everyone nodded suddenly, understanding that the so-called calm is the expression of Kumogakure's lack of self-confidence. Patriarch Liushin, Mawako, is there any problem? Yi-zan tilted his head and glanced at the 2 of them, and got a positive reply from them. No problem. Very good. Yi-zan nodded and didn't say anything else. Danzo was an old man who commanded the battle on the spot, and he didn't need to intervene on paper. Since the junction of the Land of Fire and the Land of Soup is very flat, there is no way to do it. There is no place to defend in the east and the north of the Land of Fire. It is better to choose a place with open terrain to set up traps, at least energy loss. Some strength of the enemy. Boom, 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 boom. Every step, the ninjas at the front poured Raiden, thunder style, into the ground. They didn't know where to start the arrangement of the detonator, and only this method could prevent the explosion. Although it is slightly different, in general, as Xiaoshuan expected, Kumogakure village has lost the belief that it will go forward and win every battle. That is to say, my previous arrangement was not in vain. Of course not. The improvement Xiaoshuan made 3 days ago has more accurate master's psychology. Liushin Patriarch, we are here to appreciate it. Let's see how effective the sealed trap that took a few months to set up can play. The corner of Danzo's mouth is smiling, and he is in a good mood. The expression on Danzo's face also relaxes the elites beside him, like a domino. The whole Konoha's nervousness is relieved, and it will not break before the war begins. String. Sure enough, it's an old fox. Yizan glanced at Danzo quietly and blinked slightly after seeing that Danzo was also looking at himself. I'm an old fox, aren't you a little fox? Seeing that everyone's attention was on Kumogakure, Danzo also blinked, as if saying, calling me is also scolding yourself. I was originally a little fox, a cute, handsome and smart little fox. Yizan twisted his buttocks proudly, and he didn't know if he ate too much barbecue last night, and his stomach suddenly felt uncomfortable. Oops, I'm going to fart. His face changed, and there were more than 2,000 ninjas standing behind him. He must not make a fool of himself at such a time. Thinking of this, Yizan squeezed tighten a little, gently, slowly, one, sweet, and own sweet, divided 8 times, and finally let out all his farts. It stinks. Who farts? The huge stench that suddenly poured out made hundreds of ninjas cover their noses behind them. This was a fart from a stomachache, and it belonged to the kind of stinky fart. It's not me, it should be the front. It's not me, it's more ahead. The ninjas whispered, and soon looked at the target in the first row. Yizan rolled his eyes, turned his head suddenly, and shouted at the back, what are you discussing? Isn't it just a fart? This is Danzo adult farts. No matter how stinky it is, you have to smell it. Yizan roared loudly, causing Danzo's expression to stagnate and glaring at Yizan fiercely. Stinky boy, when this battle is over, let's see how I deal with you. La la la, I'm just telling the truth, you want to use the power of the Legion Commander to oppress me, and I can't help it tilde. Yizan shook his head with a smile, and Danzo Kiba itched with anger because of the villain's triumphant appearance. When Danzo found out that the ninja behind him were still discussing this matter, he finally couldn't help but burst out. What to discuss? Discuss. It's obviously Xiaoshuan's fart. Look at what I'm doing. Woo, my father farted, but because of his bad face, he pushed the matter on his son, woo woo. Yizan pouted and cried, and the slug on his shoulder jumped with excitement. The father beats the son. The Legion Commander beats the Chief of Staff. It's going to die tilde 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 la 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 la. Little slug, your performance is too flamboyant. Calm down your emotions. Oh, is that so? Take a little more restraint. So? Well, it's almost there tilde. Yizan taught the slug with a serious face, and the weird style of painting finally made Danzo cover his forehead and sigh deeply. Lord Danzo. Hey, Jiraiya, you don't have to say it, I already understand. Chapter 188-Mawako appears. Just when Yizan was fighting with the ninjas in the front row of Konoha. Boom. A loud bang, accompanied by the screams of several ninjas, appeared. Uzumaki Ryushin was the first to speak, with his fists clenched and a strange excitement on his face. Konoha's side was excited, and on Kumogakure's side, the face of the third-generation Hokage suddenly became gloomy. How is that possible? Didn't every foot use Raiden Thunder style? How did it trigger the explosion? Was a large area of Nuo, with 3 generations of Hokage and dozens of elite Jonins walking at the forefront, but just now, one of the Jonin's feet exploded, injuring the ordinary Jonin, and the surrounding Chunin was affected and died. Yizan still guessed right. The morale of the Kumogakure village was very low, and he even lost his usual courageous style and became cautious and steady. Go, keep going, be sure to beat Konoha today. Third generation of Hokage did not understand why, but he continued to lead the team forward, and the next second. Boom! Was another loud noise, and the 3-generation Hokage himself was bombed, but he was driving the Raiden Thunder style armor together and was not injured in the slightest. This is a seal type. Third generation of Hokage looked down, with a heavy look on his face. He backed away his right foot, and under the deep pit, a small piece of seal that had not been blown up came into view. Mark with thunder, specifically for thunder. As if he understood something, he suddenly raised his head and looked fiercely at the Konoha Legion in the distance, and at the first row, Uzumaki Ryushin next to Yizan. The Uzumaki clan. third generation of Reikage snorted coldly, hesitated for a moment, and said, "Cancel Raiden Thunder Style Transmission, these should be traps specially set for the Thunder attribute. Once the Thunder is touched, it will explode. Again, cancel Raiden Thunder Style Transmission, go straight ahead." After he finished speaking, he walked towards the front again, but the entire legion hadn't walked a few steps. Rumble boom. The sudden explosion killed more than a dozen ninjas at the front, and the third generation Reikage shrank his pupils, and found that the arrangement had become a triggered detonator again. Damn, brothers, go straight. Third generation Reikage was never a good-natured person. All the ninjas in Kumogakure village were not good-natured. That moment, the aggrieved Kumogakure ninjas completely detonated, and they charged with the three-generation Reikage. Along the way, the rumbling explosions resounded continuously. Kunai, detonating talisman, shoot, scatter, free fire, attack. Danzo waved and shouted, and at the same time hand seal with Jiraiya, he quickly summoned Nightmare Taper and Toadbunta. The slug body also rushed out at this time, and Konoha and Kumogakure seemed to be two torrents, which suddenly caused a shocking wave. Liushin Patriarch. Well, I understand. Uzumaki Ryayama immediately looked at Uzumaki Mawako. Uzumaki Mawako nodded affirmatively, and rushed out quickly with the large army. She stared at the front left. There was a different atmosphere. It was the force of Two Tails Jinchuiki column breath. QB 9 Tails. Uzumaki Mawako did not hide her breath, and was instantly perceived by the other party. This generation of two-tailed people, Jinchuriki column force, was a man in his 30s. When he found Mawako who only had the strength of genin, he was stunned at first, and then laughed out loud. Ha ha ha, QB 9 Tails Jinchuriki column force is actually a genin. He laughed loudly, and suddenly burst out the tail beast coat, and a strong murderous aura burst out in his pupils. One move to solve you. Villain Jinchuriki column force. He abandoned the surrounding Konoha ninjas and rushed towards Mawako. Don't underestimate me. After going through rigorous training, Mawako is no longer the rookie she was before. She gave a light drink and suddenly patted her hand on her abdomen. In the next second, a fierce, terrifying and evil chakra burst out. Good evil chakra. The sudden appearance of chakra surprised the third generation of Reikage for a moment, then turned his head to look, only to find that it was a little girl. QB 9 Tails People Jinchuriki column power. You actually released QB 9 Tails People Jinchuriki column power. His eyes widened in disbelief, feeling that everything was incredible. At this moment, the chakra on Mawako is getting stronger and stronger, and she is biting Kiba tightly, as if suffering some pain. 1, 2, 3. When the third tail appeared, Uzumaki Liushin, who was hiding behind, suddenly hand-sealed, and in an instant, dense seals appeared on Mawako's body, suppressing the forthcoming fourth tail. Boom! The Yuhi-colored chakra burst, knocking the two-tailed Jinchuriki column 100 meters away. Uzumaki Mawako's pupils erect, and a canine-toothed Kiba, wrapped in a thick demon fox coat. Mawako, calm your mind. Yizan, who was not far away, shouted to make Mawako steady. Mawako nodded earnestly, trying her best to stabilize her emotions so as not to be infected by QB 9 Tails. Although Mawako is young, her control over QB 9 Tails is much stronger than that of future Naruto, because her heart is full of love, and whenever QB 9 Tails' breath infects her mind, she recalls happiness and happiness time, so that she can quickly get rid of this infection. The appearance of the QB 9 Tails Jinchuriki column force made the Kumogakure Corps completely unexpected, and the two Jinchuriki column forces soon became entangled. At this moment, Danzo, Jiraiya, Hyuga Patriarch, Hyuga Soji, Mitarashi Zishou, the three generations of Reikage were blocked by the slug at the same time. The slug's bodies, tongue and teeth, were sticky, but even the three generations of Reikage dared not touch it head-on. Sunset did not join the plan to intercept Reikage, because the third generation Reikage was too strong, and the extremely powerful chakra and momentum were simply beyond the control of demonic illusion of the mere elite Jonin. In the tragic battle situation, the two ninjas fighting frantically, after Yizan turned into Sage mode, he quickly harvested the lives of 2.0 enemies. The Sage Art Futon Wind Style mode made every attack of him with extremely terrifying power. Seeing Yizan reaping his life on the scattered battlefield, Yi Yi finally couldn't bear it anymore. He waved his hand violently, and his voice spread in all directions. Don't be afraid of death. Follow me to intercept Shimura. Konoha intercepts Reikage, and we intercept Shimura. We have more people than Konoha, come. Follow me to intercept him. Finished speaking, hundreds of Jonins around gave up their opponents at the same time, and slayed Yizan fearlessly. The Konoha ninja was about to rescue him, and another ninja came over, forcing the Konoha ninja to vacate. You know, there are twice as many ninjas as Konoha in Kumogakure village. Even if hundreds of people surrounded Yizan, Konoha was still weak in the entire battlefield. Chapter 189 _ The sun has fallen. The war was fought from noon to afternoon. The sun in the west changed from golden to yuhi, surrounded by beautiful colorful clouds, and the battlefield was still full of endless screams of killing. The Kumogakure ninjas are getting smarter. Hundreds of people surround Yizan. When Yizan kills in a certain direction, the people in this direction will attack Yizan with ninjutsu at the same time. More than 100 ninjutsu techniques can at least explode 10 times the cage level. Even Yizan, who was in a mortal state, would not dare to resist it. Generation Reikage, S side, because of the slug's body, the fight is also indistinguishable. Once the third generation Reikage wants to seriously injure someone, the slug sprays his teammates with tongue-tooth viscous acid, forcing the third generation Reikage to give up the attack. There are small slugs on the shoulders of teammates. Every time the corrosive liquid comes, the small slugs will expand into a piece of paper to wrap the person, which perfectly avoids the corrosion attack. For a whole afternoon, Yi Shuenkai killed dozens of ninjas. Seeing that the surrounding area was full of enemies who were ready to release ninjutsu at any time, Yizan sighed helplessly. Wood 05 Leaf Disadvantage. The disadvantage of the number of people. Another point is, Uzumaki Mawako can't hold it anymore. Two-tailed Jinchuriki column force exploded with 2 tails, and her strength is even comparable to cage level. Although Mawako relies on the characteristics of Kyubi, 9 tails power to persevere, her body can't last so long at all. Kyubi, 9 tails, power gradually began to decline. Can't stand it anymore. Thinking of this, Mawako turned her head and looked at her father who was hiding behind, and then Uzumaki Ryayama looked at Danzo. Lord Danzo. Uzumaki Ryushin shouted, immediately attracting Danzo's attention. He immediately left the third generation Reikage's battle circle, and the third generation Reikage also took a step back, wondering what tricks the opponent was going to play. Danzo-sama, Mawako is dead. Danzo frowned at Uzumaki's words, and he immediately looked at Mawako, who found that Mawako was pale, and her spirit was getting weaker as her willpower was constantly competing with Kyubi's 9 tails will. Konoha's situation is at a disadvantage, and there is not much that can be done on Xiaoshuan's side. This position must not be lost. In this case, Danzo frowned and looked at Uzumaki Mawako with a dignified face, and nodded heavily when he realized that Uzumaki Mawako and the two-tailed Jinchuriki column force were mostly surrounded by Kumogakure ninjas. Go. Are you sure? Okay. Order. Uzumaki Ryushin finally changed his seal style. He used the seal technique to suppress Kyubi, 9 tails, for one afternoon, and his chakra was not as strong as before. Sealing. Open. Uzumaki Ryushin let out a low voice, and the seal on Uzumaki Mawako disappeared. At that moment, the fourth tail quickly emerged, and Uzumaki Mawako's pupils completely radiated yuhi-colored light. Mawako, hold on. Roar. With a terrifying beast roar, Mawako's body gradually turned into a pure yuhi color, and the madness continued to rise. Seeing the force of the two-tailed Jinchuriki column attack, Miwako's demon fox coat suddenly stretched out a big hand and slapped it hard. Boom! With a loud bang, the 100-meter ground collapsed. The two-tailed Jinchuriki column force was photographed into the ground dozens of meters deep, and struggled to rush out. Huh! There was another terrifying chakra fluctuation, and Miwako, who was completely unconscious, fell to the ground, opened her mouth, and a black substance quickly gathered in front of her mouth. Damn! Tailed beast bomb! Two-tailed Jinchuriki column force's pupils shrunk, and without even thinking, he frantically ran into the distance. He knew that if he was hit by the tailed beast bomb, even if he was lucky, he would trigger the two tails. He was loyal to Kumogakure, but he didn't. Willing to trigger two tails and kill a lot of colleagues. Seeing Miwako lost consciousness, Uzumaki Ryushin sighed helplessly. His hands were still sealed. If necessary, he could immediately seal the power of Kyubi, 9 tails, to let Miwako get out of this state. But not now. It's still at war. Fortunately, there are more Kumogakure ninjas around Miwako, and even if there are casualties, Kumogakure loses even more. Just as Uzumaki Ryushin was thinking, Miwako finally swallowed the tailed beast bomb, and the next second, she opened her mouth wide, and an evil, Yuhi-colored light wave that seemed to destroy everything erupted. Going towards or ways back. 100 meters, 500 meters, 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters. Jinchuriki column force that fled 2 kilometers away, and drowned the two-tailed Jinchuriki column force. Boom boom boom. The ground shook, and the light waves were still rushing into the distance. Along the way, both the Konoha and the Kumogakure ninjas were burned to ashes by the terrifying tailed beast bomb, and they were reduced to ashes without even a single scream. Tailed beast bomb that suddenly appeared on the battlefield made the entire battlefield fall into an instant silence, and everyone looked at Miwako, stunned. In the next second, as if tranquility to ultimate's collapse, the entire battlefield erupted. Roaring, howling, everyone is frantically attacking the enemy in front of them. The sun is gradually going down, and on the horizon, there is only half a Yuhi day left. The setting sun looks stupidly at the chasm spread out by tailed beast bomb, stupidly looking at the setting sun in the distance, and suddenly closes his eyes, as if there are only 033 worlds left. He is alone. Sunset, sunset, sunset. I don't know how long it took. He slowly opened his eyes, as if something had changed, with a smile at the corners of his mouth, and his eyes were deep and bright. Ultimate demonic illusion, Yuhi-colored sunset. He suddenly hand-seal, the next second, in a certain area of the battlefield, about 100 Kumogakure ninjas found that the sunset in the distance began to regressed, and kept regressing, until it reached the top of the head. And then, the hot sun started getting bigger. It keeps getting bigger, as if it's about to fall off. Not as if. Instead, the sun really fell. These 100 ninjas looked at the sky, their pupils shrank sharply, and their faces were terrified, as if they had seen something extremely terrifying. Next second. Ah! One Kumogakure screamed, and then, the other 100 Kumogakure ninjas also screamed, and outside this area, everyone looked at these ninjas inexplicably, not knowing why they suddenly lay on the ground and screamed. These ninjas lost their resistance, and the Konoha ninjas who fought against them immediately seized the opportunity and hit the opponent's key points. 100 Kumogakure died at the hands of Konoha. Chapter 190 Teaching Slugs to Bully. Congratulations, breakthrough, we Konoha, one more master. In the central camp of Konoha Station, everyone was congratulating Zuryong. Zuryong smiled and bowed back modestly. Thank you everyone, it's all luck, I just broke through in advance, I believe everyone will break through. Haha, then I'll borrow your auspicious words. The cheerful scene also made Danzo, who was sitting in the first seat, also cheer up. Konoha has an additional quasi-shadow master, and is a very special large-scale demonic illusion master on the battlefield. So, Jiraiya, my Tsunade has a breakthrough. It can be said that she is a genius, but even Uncle Sunset has broken through. You haven't broken through yet. Do you think you are a spicy chicken? Yi Xuanmen whispered beside Jiraiya, so angry that Jiraiya's face was depressed. Stinky brat. I'm only in my 20s, it's still early. Maybe I will break through next month. Don't mock me here. Yeah, break out next month. Jiraiya, look, that's what I look like now. What expression? Humph. Jiraiya snorted lightly and turned her head in disgust, but the little slug jumped directly on Jiraiya's shoulder and waved her tentacles reluctantly. Jiraiya, Xiaoxuan is right, you are so rubbish, you are not even in your 20s, oh my god. What kind of idiot is this? I have never seen it before. Hey, little slug, it's too exaggerated. Oh, wait, do it again. Ahem, listen up. Jiraiya, Xiaoxuan is right, you're so rubbish, you're in your 20s, you can't even do a decent S-rank ninjutsu, my god. What an idiot I've never seen before. The slug's tentacles swayed, as if hearing something very surprising, making Jiraiya's face darker. I said, you two are enough. I don't know S-rank ninjutsu because I'm an all-around ninja. If I want to learn it, it's not that I can't learn it, but I pursue a precise fighting style, so don't then. My god. Accurate fighting style. What kind of idiot is this? I've never seen it before. No, little slug, there shouldn't be continuous surprises at this time. You see, Jiraiya doesn't feel it anymore. You should praise him once, and then mock him. Look, I'll teach you. Yizan cleared his throat with a serious face. Jiraiya, not bad, a precise fighting style. This is not something ordinary ninjas can do. Not only saves chakra, but also increases the duration of the battle in disguise. But, you sure enough, it's a spicy chicken, it's obviously Xiao chakra, and what is the precise fighting style, ha. Yizan pointed at Jiraiya and laughed, while the slug looked at Yizan with admiration. Yizan's laughter attracted the elites not far away. When Danzo found that Yizan kept laughing and Jiraiya's face was black, he sighed helplessly. Sorry, Jiraiya, I can't help you. Not only Danzo, but everyone present did not dare to take on Yizan's map cannon at this time, especially Mitarashi Zishao and Sunset Sun, who took a step back, for fear that Yizan would find himself. Unfortunately, the more afraid of something, the more and more. As soon as the setting sun retreated, Yizan looked over. Uncle Sunset Sun. That. Cough, Xiaoxuan, what's the matter? Shiriang looked simple and honest, as if to say, don't bully honest people, but he underestimated Yizan. Yi Shuangkai didn't care whether you were simple and honest, he directly bowed to the sunset. The cute appearance made the sunset a little bit relaxed. I'm going to suffer. Sunset and Yizan are not familiar with each other, but those who are familiar with Yizan know Yizan's actions. Danzo and Jiraiya looked at each other, and under the pressure of Yizan's horror, they chose to watch and abandon their companions at the same time. Uncle Sunset, you didn't answer me last time. If you have a daughter, would you like to marry me? With his big black eyes, he looked innocent, but now everyone knew that Yizan was a little villain, and Shiriang didn't want his daughter to fall into a fire pit. That. Cough, Xiaoxuan, don't I have a daughter yet, what if it's a boy? It's okay, book first, the girl is mine, the boy is yours. O_O. Sunset was helpless. He didn't expect that one day, the child he didn't have had already been reserved. That feeling. Sir Danzo. Sunset looked at Danzo angrily. Danzo took a step back again and coughed a few times in embarrassment. Cough. Xiaozan is still young and ignorant, you answer him first, maybe in a few years, he will forget tilde. Danzo chose to avoid, but the sunset lost the biggest help, and found Yizan's increasingly staring eyes, and the sunset finally looked at Mitarashi Zishao. Xiaoxuan, in fact, my family. Like Zishao's family, they also practice monogamy. This system has been passed down in my family for hundreds of years. I hope you can understand. Sun kept winking at Mitarashi Zishao, Of course Mitarashi Zishao understood. He immediately stood up and comforted softly, Xiaoshuan, there are many girls in the world, but our family rules are really like this. Of course, if you're willing to give up the other girls and choose just one, that's fine, but no need. A loud cry, Yizan stopped Mitarashi Zishao's words. He puffed up angrily, obviously unhappy. I'm just asking your opinions on this matter. Since you object, I won't ask. I respect your family rules, but if your daughter takes the initiative to like me in the future, don't blame me if you dare to stop it. Rough. He waved his little paw, and immediately made the two of them look helpless. At this moment, Danzo finally came out and patted Yizan's little head lightly to ease the atmosphere between the three. Xiaozan, this matter. It's still early, and Tsunade is not a vegetarian. Are you sure that after finding so many wives, Tsunade won't kill you? Humph. I'll try my best. One day, Tsunade will obey me. As expected of Xiaoshuan, come on, I support you. Chapter 191 _ The Attitude of Three Generations of Reikage. A lot of effort and promising countless benefits, Danzo finally appeased Yizan. Congratulations to the sunset, and everyone brought the topic to the war again. War is always the place to catalyze ninjas. Although more than 300 people were lost in this battle, let's see how many genin advanced to chunin, how many elite chunin advanced to jonin, and the sunset, we Konoha another strong man. Danzo glanced at each other again, and the setting sun responded with a modest smile. It's all luck, it's all tone tilde. Knowing that you're lucky, you'll become a fake kun if you're too modest. Yizan murmured in a low voice, but deliberately let everyone in the camp hear it. Sunset's face froze, and he scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. Ever since Shiriong rejected Yizan as a son-in-law, Yizan never had any good feelings towards Shiriong, and Shiriong was also very innocent, but facing Yizan, a troublemaker, he was only embarrassed. Yesterday's battle, as the setting sun became a quasi-shadow, Uzumaki Miwako's tailed beast bomb blew out her way again, and the situation was completely out of control. Konoha 107 has a small number of people and wants to temporarily truce. Kumogakure does not want his own people to die in the hands of two people, Jinchuriki column. Times. Danzo and the third generation of Reikage chose a truce at the same time, which is the best ending. Uzumaki Ryushin immediately controlled the seal and broke the power of Kyubi, Nine Tails, and Miwako, who was covered in Yuhi skin, was unconscious and was rescued by the sunset, and the little slug immediately climbed up. Emergency treatment started. Patriarch Ryushin, how is Uzumaki Miwako? Thank you, Mr. Danzo, for your concern. Miwako is in good shape, and after this battle, her strength has entered Chunin. Well, not bad, not bad. Danzo was quite satisfied with Uzumaki Miwako's progress. Thinking that 2/3 of the genins in Konoha had not been dispatched, Danzo made up his mind that he must persuade Sarutobi to bring all these genins to the battlefield. Yesterday's war finally pushed Kumogakure back. It was a real retreat. It directly exited the border of the country of fire, the country of soup, the country of the moon, and stayed at the border of the country of thunder. There was the first defensive place initially determined by the Konoha side. Because of the sudden promotion of the setting sun and the outbreak of the Jinchuriki column force of the Kyubi, Nine Tails people, Kumogakure finally chose a relatively good defensive place. So far, the total number of casualties on both sides has exceeded 3,000. 3,000 people, what is the concept? You must know that the front of the country of wind and the front of the country of soil, all the casualties added up, are less than 1,500. That bastard Onoki, he actually preserved his power. Do you take Lao Su for a fool? In the border station of the Land of Thunder, the third generation Reikage smashed the table in front of him. He roared angrily, with a strong murderous aura. Even Yi lowered his head, not daring to face his father's gaze. Our village has lost too much, Konoha bastards. They have been hiding the power of the Kyubi, Nine Tails, Jinchuriki column, giving us the strongest mental blow at this time. Lord Reikage, we can fight. We are not afraid. We. Shut up. A loud roar, the elite Jonin immediately lowered his head. Perhaps it was a bit too much, but the third generation Hokage finally stabilized and took a few deep breaths to calm down. Stop fighting, and don't say you're not afraid of death. Even if you're not afraid of death, I don't want to continue like this. We won Konoha at a terrible price, but that bastard Onoki. Thinking of Onoki, the third generation of Hokage finally became angry again. He didn't know why the front of the Land of Earth was progressing so slowly, but he had to be defensive. If Onoki suddenly tore up the alliance treaty and directly attacked the Land of Thunder, he would not be Onoki's opponent after he defeated Konoha. The world has never had permanent allies, only permanent interests. Who stayed in Kumogakure village were to prevent Onoki, and the thousands of ninjas that Onoki stayed in Iwagakure village were to prevent the kingdom of Hefeng, the Land of Thunder, including Kage. Prevent other countries from tearing up the treaty. Send someone to summon Onoki and ask him to give me an explanation. Tell him, if there is no explanation that satisfies me, I will not fight this war. Because of the lack of progress in the Land of the Land, Hokage of the third generation thought that Onoki was thinking carefully. In order to prevent Onoki, he completely gave up the attack. He set up a position on the border of the Land of Thunder, full of detonating talismans and traps, and showed an attitude of absolutely not attacking. Although Konoha didn't understand why, he could drag it out for a while, and he could take the most difficult Land of Thunder for a while. The battle lines are like this, and there is an element of luck. Kumogakure didn't move, Konoha didn't move, Yizan stayed in the camp for a whole month, and after counting hundreds of skill books that exploded on the battlefield countless times in the Sea of Consciousness, he finally felt bored. I'm going back. Go back. Where are you going? Go back to Konoha. It's been half a year since I've been out, and I'm taking a vacation. For Yizan's request, Danzo hesitated for a moment, then agreed after thinking for a while. You can go back, but you can only go back by yourself. Everyone else must stay here to prevent the sudden attack of Kumogakure. Also, if something happens, come to support the front line immediately. Also, Uzumaki Mawako has to stay here, there are many experts here, we will continue to nurture her and enhance her strength. Quote. Understood, then I'm leaving. Yizan is the type of doing what he says. He bowed his hands to Danzo, and after a minute, he left the station with a few storage scrolls filled with food. Yizan walked quietly, until half a day later, when Danzo held another meeting, everyone knew that Yizan had left the station. Stinky Brat actually went back to Konoha, it's too much. We were suffering on the front line, and he went back to Konoha to take a vacation easily. It's not fair. Jiraiya squeezed his fist unhappily, and the next second, a letter flew to Jiraiya's table. This is the letter Xiaoshuan sent you before he left. A letter to me. Jiraiya glanced at Danzo suspiciously, then opened the envelope and took out a piece of letter paper. It's been a month, what about a breakthrough? I'm sure I'm an idiot, look at my expression _. The contents of the letter instantly made Jiraiya's face black. He slammed the paper into a ball and bit Kiba tightly, his eyes burning with anger. Damn brat. Chapter 192 _ Back to Konoha on vacation. Buy a radish and cut it, then chop it up, add 4 pieces of tofu and slurp it. At the gate of Konoha, Yizan sang a song and jumped in. The 2 chunin at the gate blinked, not understanding how this Lord Zan came back. I'm back. Boom. A loud bang, Yizan kicked the door of Hokage's office open. He walked in slowly, while Kaharu Yuditane and Homura Mitokado were constantly processing documents. Xiaozan, why are you back? Busy, Homura Mitokado pushed his glasses and glanced at Yizan, and then continued to work on the documents. The 3 fronts needed a lot of supplies, and all kinds of information from the ninja world were intertwined, and the 2 of them were too busy. The 3 generations of Hokage are in a truce. I don't think they can fight in a short time, so I will come back for vacation. The news of a month ago has already spread throughout the ninja world. The truce in Kumogakure village caused a great uproar, especially on the front of the Kingdom of Wind. The morale of the sand ninjas plummeted again. They were beaten by Hatake Sakumo and retreated again and again. In the end, Kazekage really suffered. No, he pulled out all the 3,000 ninjas who were staying in Sunagakure village, forcing Konoha to retreat without a fight. Retreat does not mean losing. Hatake Sakumo set up a camp at the junction of the Land of Wind and the Land of Rivers. Since the border is too far from the village of Cheyenne, in order to prevent Onoki from tearing up the treaty and attacking himself, Kazekage did not dare to pull the last 3,000 ninjas too far. Needless to say, let him fight guerrilla warfare. As long as the Land of Wind does not surrender, he will continue to fight. Occupy their cities and devour them step by step. I don't believe they will not surrender. In Hokage's office, Yizan patted the table carelessly, knowing that Yizan had placed high hopes on the front of the Kingdom of Wind, and with Hatake Sakumo and Tsunade there, it was only a matter of time before Sand Ninja was destroyed. Of course, there are still many more ninjas in the Sand Ninja frontline corps than Konoha. There are also 3,000 ninjas in the Sand Ninja village. The reason why Hatake Sakumo can counterattack the opponent is mainly because of his personal ability to kill the timid 3 generations of Kazekage. Afraid to fight. Master Tsunade said, "Small Shaoshuan, I also played a very important role. Without me to detoxify, Konoha would have died long ago. Why should I rely mainly on Minister Sakumo? I am also very important." The slug jumped and jumped on Yizan's shoulder, waving its tentacles constantly, looking very happy. With Slug, the phone bug, there is no need to waste a few days to connect the front line with the village. In the Land of Wind, Hatake Sakumo, Tsunade, Nara Masao and other elites gathered together, with the help of Slug and Konoha, 2 advisors. Conversation. At this moment, on the front of the Kingdom of Wind, Slug was also standing on Tsunade's shoulders, shaking her tentacles. She shook her head, her voice was a little warm. Shaozan said, "Okay, my wife is the most important. The front of the Kingdom of Wind is completely wife's credit, come to my wife Tilda." After the slug finished speaking, it went directly to Tsunade's face and kissed Tsunade's face. At that moment, Tsunade gave Yuhi a pretty face and glared at the slug. "Why, just pass the word. What are you doing with these actions?" "Oh, that's it." The little slug had a conversation with Tsunade, which made Hatake Sakumo sigh helplessly, and for some reason, he suddenly remembered his wife who was far away in Konoha. "When this war is over, I will have a child. I am usually busy with work, so I can't let her be too lonely." Thinking of his wife, Hatake Sakumo's heart suddenly burst into a fire, not the fire of anger, but hey. Hatake Sakumo is the kind of person who is very boring, saucy, and almost no one knows his essence except his wife. He raised his head and sighed, but he didn't realize that the surrounding colleagues looked at him strangely, and the smile that appeared at the corner of his mouth when he sighed, a bit of stuffiness, a bit of coquettishness, and a bit of lewdness triviality, which he had never shown before. "Look. That, Sakumo-sama." Nara Masao reminded softly, and Hatake Sakumo came back to his senses immediately. When he noticed the strange eyes of the people around him, he coughed a few times, and his cheeks were Yuhi. For a time, there was an awkward atmosphere in the camp, and this atmosphere made the little slug on Tsunade's shoulder roll his eyes, as if he had discovered some shocking secret, and suddenly stood up. "Hatake Sakumo is shy." The slug's voice was loud, and the feeling of suddenly breaking the secret made everyone uncomfortable, especially Hatake Sakumo, who felt so uncomfortable that he didn't even know how to put his hands. "Slug, don't talk nonsense about Sakumo-sama." Tsunade pinched the slug so hard that the slug groaned in pain, blinked, and lowered its tentacles pitifully. "You hurt me." "Humph, it hurts. Slug, you are getting worse now." Tsunade bit Kiba and stared at the slug, and she was sincerely tired of this slug that was getting more and more strange. Slug made fun of Hatake Sakumo, and finally closed his mouth under Tsunade's pressure. As the atmosphere slowly eased, everyone shifted the discussion to the war again. The big situation is no problem, although I don't know why the land of the lands stopped attacking, and I don't know what agreement Onoki and the 3 generations of Reikage will reach in the end, but from now on, Yizan hopes that Hatake Sakumo can gradually encroach on the cities of the Land of Wind. You must keep forcing each other to fight. If Cage is there, you can defeat the opponent. If Cage is not there, you are invincible on the battlefield. In this way, you will give Sand Ninja mental pressure and make the opponent surrender. Okay. Hatake Sakumo nodded solemnly and understood what Yizan meant. There's one more thing that my dad suggested, and I think it can be done. What's the matter? Send all the genin of Konoha to 3 battlefields. Yizan was calm, but when he finished speaking, the 2 advisors in the office and everyone on the front of the Kingdom of Wind were stunned. Danzo and Sarutobi, but they didn't expect that Yizan would bring it up again. Xiaozan, this matter is of great importance, and it is also related to the future of our Konoha. Without Lord Hokage, I can't. Elder Menyon, don't worry, just listen to me. Yizan raised his hand to stop the other party's refusal. After thinking about the matter in his mind, he slowly said it. First of all, Chapter 193-Horrible School Reform. Yizan's suggestion was unanimously approved after discussions between the 2 advisors of Konoha and all the elites of the Wind Country front. Of Konoha's remaining genin, 90% are sent to the 3 battlefields, and 10% are left to do common quests, which is a crazy decision, because genin has the lowest survival rate on the battlefield. Is no way, the 3 countries are already determined to destroy Konoha. Konoha must give everything, even if he sacrifices a lot of genin, but as long as some of them become the pillars, this action will be worth it. From today, I will be in charge of the ninja school, and I will restructure the ninja school. I must unconditionally follow my system. Those who do not comply will be directly dismissed from school. In order to speed up the recruitment of Konoha's troops, Yizan changed the 6-year system to 5-year system, and the most extreme thing was to modify the study time. Students, starting from today, the daily class time will be changed from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., to 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., dinner at 5 p.m., and continue to study at night at 6:30. Until 9 o'clock. 4th and 5th grade students, until 10:30 p.m. Quote. When the head teacher of each class announced such news in the classroom, the entire ninja school exploded. Why do you have to study for so long? I protest. Every day from morning to night, do you still need people to rest? Absolutely not. I'm going to tell my dad that my dad is. Students were noisy, but the head teachers kept their faces straight, especially the teacher Duanmu, who was in Class A of the 3rd grade, who had the most ugly face. Shut up for me all. Teacher Duanmu shouted abruptly, making everyone afraid to speak. He scanned the class coldly, his tone full of strong dissatisfaction. What's the commotion? What's going on? You teach from morning to late, but our teachers are different from early to late. If you are tired, we will not be tired. He looked at Shikaku and the others fiercely, and stayed on Kushina for a while, pouted, and patted the table angrily. Also, weekends are cancelled, and the weekly rest time is only half-day in the afternoon on Saturday. That is to say, from now on, you will go from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day without stopping, and only school will be dismissed at noon on Saturday. You rest an afternoon and an evening. Teacher Duanmu's words made everyone collapse, especially Kushina, who was a bit lazy, and even slapped the table and made a fuss, saying that he absolutely disapproved of this inhuman torture. If you don't want to accept it, you don't have to accept it. The upper management has already sent a message. If you don't want to accept it, please leave the ninja school. The ninja school doesn't need you wastes without perseverance. Teacher Duanmu's cold voice finally shook the whole class. Drop out. This will not work. If the children of the family dare to drop out of school, it will definitely become a shame for the family, and the children of the commoners regard ninja as a career that changes their destiny, and they are not willing to give up no matter how hard they are. Damn it. Which bastard gave these orders? Lord Hokage. I'll kill him. Uzumaki Kushina slapped the table angrily and yelled, but Duanmu teacher just sneered twice, looking at Kushina with pity. Kushina, if you really want to know who issued the order, I can tell you. Who is it? Shimura Gen. Yizan was completely unaware that he had been sold by teacher Duanmu. The light of the setting sun was shining through Yuhi but not dazzling. Yizan was sleeping comfortably on the sofa, smacking his lips from time to time, looking extra cute. After a while, the light suddenly disappeared. Yizan moved his eyelids in his sleep, and half opened his eyes hazy. Yo, Kushina, come back, you can make your own first, I'll sleep later, we'll go out to eat later. After he finished speaking, he didn't notice the iron box in Kushina's hand at all, yawned, and slowly closed his eyes. Sleep, humph. Going out to eat later. Kushina glared at the boy in front of him. Kiba took a bite, and raised the iron box in his hand. Boom. Ah, damn woman, what are you doing? What am I doing? I'll beat you to death. Make you extra classes. Let you cancel weekends. Kill you, beat you, beat you. 20 minutes later, Kushina rudely straddled Yizan, pressing Yizan to the ground, unable to move on the sofa. She was holding the iron box in her right hand, her wrist was pinched by Yizan, her eyes met, Yizan pouted in grievance. What are you doing? Isn't it just extra classes? I'm not doing it for your own good, so that your strength can be improved quickly. Improve the fart. According to your course, what else can I do every day except sleep? Even take a shower. If you sleep late, you won't be able to get up the next day. Kushina glared and cursed, and suddenly took the iron box in his left hand and hit Yizan's head fiercely. Boom. Oops. Murder my husband. Yizan shouted, and his left hand grabbed Kushina's left wrist violently. Now, both hands were restrained, which made Kushina's eyes even more annoyed. Let go of me. Don't let go. Let go of you, you'll hit me again. What? I can't beat you anymore. You've done such a hurtful and maddening thing. I can't beat you yet. Kushina twisted her arm hard, but she couldn't break free. As if thinking of something, she gradually stopped struggling. Stinky bastard, if you don't let me go, believe it or not, I'll spit on your face. Her tone was a little light, but her eyes were very serious. Since she was sitting on Yizan's belly and lowered her head, 4.8 happened to be Yizan's face. As for Kushina's words, Yizan was a little unconvinced, and turned over Byakugan indifferently, with an attitude of absolutely not letting go. And then, pooh. The saliva brushed Yizan's ear and landed on the sofa. Yizan's eyes widened in horror, and when Qianjun was fired, he tilted his head to avoid the disaster. Bastard woman, you are serious? Yeah, I'm here for real, won't you let it go? Well, I think you can't escape this time. Kushina pouted again, and in the next second, Yizan suddenly straightened his waist and turned his upper body up quickly. Lips met, Kushina's body shuddered and gradually softened. Chapter 194-Ruined Atmosphere. Damn it, I hate you to death. Sun was setting and night was falling. On the bustling commercial street of Konoha, Yizan pulled Kushina's wrist and kept walking forward. Kushina pouted angrily, dragging it one by one, and was very unwilling to be dragged by Yizan. Stinky bastard, let me go. Don't let it go, Tilda. You hate it. Thank you for the compliment, Tilda. Yizan raised his chin proudly, grabbed Kushina's wrist tightly, and forced himself into a small shop with an elegant environment. I won't eat barbecue today, come here, what you want to eat, order it yourself, Tilda. Due to the war, the residents of Konoha saved money to deal with various situations. The consumption of this kind of elegant shop is relatively high, and there are not many people in peacetime. During the war, it was empty. Yizan found a corner and sat down, let go of Kushina's hand. He glanced at the seat opposite. Kushina snorted softly, hesitated for a long time, and finally sat down slowly. Good evening, two guests, here is the menu, Tilda. A waiter handed the menu to Yizan. Yizan didn't even look at it, and handed it directly to Kushina. Come on. How about you? Me, I will eat whatever you eat. Yizan dragged his chin with one hand and looked at Kushina affectionately. His eyes were gentle and deep, full of deep love. Grumpy. Kushina snorted softly, lowered her head, a dizziness appeared on her cheeks. She pursed her lips slightly, and stared at the menu, but out of the corner of her eyes she found that Yizan was still looking at her. That gentle gaze made her little heart pump through the jump. I want a portion of woodfish flour, a portion of small kelp, a portion of shrimp and taro, pickled spinach, a small portion of tuna, and a bowl of rice. Kushina quickly handed the menu to the waiter, then Yizan nodded and asked the waiter to bring him the same dish. After the waiter left, Yizan stared at Kushina with interest, which made Kushina a little nervous and seemed a little restless. However, Kushina has always been a pungent girl. Seeing that Yizan has always been like this, she finally couldn't help it and raised her head all of a sudden. What are you looking at? I haven't seen a beautiful woman. She pouted, her bulging cheeks were like a small goldfish. Yizan smirked and shook his head gently. I've seen beauties a lot, but this is the first time I've seen a girl as cute as you, Tilda. Cut, liar. Kushina turned her face away again, not looking directly at Yizan. She knew that Yizan was lying, but for some reason, a touch of happiness still rose in her heart. Dinner was spent in a happy atmosphere. After dinner, Yizan took Kushina's hand for a walk on the street. The comfortable breeze was blowing, with the coolness and clarity unique to the night. Kushina. Huh. Yizan stopped suddenly. Kushina blinked his eyes in confusion. The two of them were standing at the corner of the street, and there was no one around. Yizan didn't speak anymore. She hugged Kushina's waist gently, and slowly brought her head closer. Kushina's cheeks pierced through Yuhi's face, facing the lips that were getting closer. She closed her eyes shyly, and then 1 second, 2 seconds, 10 seconds passed, and the other party didn't move at all. Huh. Kushina opened her eyes suspiciously, and found that Yizan was looking at the dark corner in the distance with a black line on her face. She looked hard, and vaguely found a slap-sized bug in the dark corner. How long have you been here? I've been following you since you ate, watching you fall in love with a beautiful girl. I didn't bother you, Tilda. The slug waved its tentacles, looking very calm, and the two small eyes at the top of the tentacles blinked, looking very innocent. Did you know that when I was about to kiss Kushina, your eyes that seemed to be watching an film made me very uncomfortable, like someone watching from behind me when I was peeing, and I couldn't pee at all. Also, I'm not the hero in the movie. Yizan complained loudly, clenched his fists, and the blue veins burst out on his forehead. The slug pretended not to see Yizan's emotions, and jumped onto Yizan's shoulder, fell down, and did not move. If you continue, I will watch. Since I was discovered by you, I will not hide. I will watch the live broadcast on your shoulder, it will be clearer, Tilda. Slug waved its tentacles lightly, and Yizan silently covered his face with an attitude of, I will not disturb you as you wish. He sighed softly, and took Kushina's hand out of the street. Little slug, do you know that the atmosphere I finally created was lost by you? What did you say before leaving the office? Ah. You told me to leave you alone and let you see the scenery of Konoha for yourself. Oh, I am one of the sights. Yes, this is the poem you taught me, you forgot. You stand on the bridge and watch the scenery. The person watching the scenery is looking at you upstairs, and I am the person watching the scenery, Tilda. The slug proudly rolled over on Yizan's shoulder, smashed it lazily, and crawls again. Why didn't you kiss me just now? I can't pee. I'm asking why you don't kiss, not you. It's all the same, bastard. Yizan finally couldn't bear it anymore. He threw the slug into the sky, and saw the slug turn into a star and disappeared. He finally breathed out a sigh of relief, turned his head, and unexpectedly found that Kushina was staring at him stupidly. That was your psychic beast just now. Well, what's wrong? Why do you bully her? She's so small, She's so cute, why did you throw her away? It turns out that you are such an uncaring man. You don't need to say it. The unloving rascal, I don't want to talk to you. Humph. Kushina stepped on Yizan's foot hard, and Yizan cried out in pain. She turned her head and ran forward, passing through the crowd. After a while, Yizan could only see the beautiful long Yuhi-colored hair in the crowd. Remember to go home. He raised his head and shouted, and finally heaved a sigh of relief after seeing Yuhi's long hair nodding. However, little slug, get out of here. As soon as Yizan's words fell, the slug fell gently in the sky. She fell softly on Yizan's shoulder, her eyes were innocent. Xiaozan, don't hit me. Everything is requested by Tsunade. When she's not here, let me supervise you and don't allow other girls. Sorry, Tsunade never supervises me on the girl side. So, today, you're screwed. Seeing Yizan clenching his fists with an evil face, Slug tightened his heart, and immediately gathered the water on his body in his eyes. Woo, Xiaoshuan, I was wrong. Woohoo. Chapter 195_stall book. After giving the slug a lesson, Yizan returned home satisfied. Home, he found Kushina huddled on the sofa with bare feet reading a book, so concentrated that Yizan didn't even notice when he came back. What are you looking at? The sudden sound made Kushina almost jump up. She put the book in the corner of the sofa in panic, stroked her long hair, and said a little excited. Stinky bastard, don't say a word when you come back. You are sick. You're sick. It's your own fault that I'm coming back. What book are you reading? Kushina's performance made Yizan a little curious. He took a few steps forward and bent down to pick up the book in the corner of the sofa. Die away. Bye-bye's little feet pressed against Yizan's heart, and Kushina sank most of the body on the sofa, blocking the corner of the sofa. What kind of book is it? I won't tell you. The stinky hooligan is a pervert. I won't show you. Kushina's face of Yuhi, with an attitude of absolutely not showing it, made Yizan's curiosity even more serious. He looked down at the small white feet on his heart, suddenly lowered his head, and took a bite. Oops. A cry of pain, Kushina's face, Yuhi, retracted her legs, and there were several kiba marks on her white and tender little toes, which made her curl up her toes shyly. Afterwards, Yizan directly threw himself on Kushina and moved Kushina away with force, ignoring the opponent's struggle, and with a sharp pull, picked up the book in the corner. After flipping through a few pages, Yizan glared and glanced at Kushina strangely, as if he had discovered some secret, and shook his head from time to time. Tisk. So, my Kushina is a little girl. Bastard. No, when I just got home, I saw someone selling books at a roadside stall, and I bought it out of curiosity. Kushina Yuhi yelled with a face. Raising his hand to grab the book, Yizan took a step back and stood straight, page by page turned up. Tisk. This style of painting, this plot, is still marked with 18 bans. It's just weak. Who is the author? Without finding the author's name on the cover and the first page, Yizan turned directly to the last page. Author, white-haired toad. PFF'd. Ha. That idiot Jiraiya. I'm dying of laughter. Jiraiya, who else in this world would have such a silly name? Obviously, this is Jiraiya's first book. Obviously, because Jiraiya is still a scumbag, the style of painting and plot are all weak, so that the sales of his first book are extremely low as only Night Market Road. Side stalls will sell his books. And the title of this book? What is it? Give me a cherry tree. If you want H, then H will be in the end. Only an idiot would buy such a beautiful title. Boom. With a loud bang, an iron box hit Yizan's forehead accurately and smashed him to the ground. Kushina walked over with Yuhi's face and snatched the book. Idiots will buy it. Idiots will buy it. I'll make you an idiot. I'll make you an idiot. Kushina angrily took the book and kept knocking on Yizan, but he didn't realize that a wicked smile flashed in Yizan's eyes. Seeing that Kushina was holding the book and was about to knock it down again, he suddenly raised his hand to grab Kushina, and fell down hard. "What are you doing?" Kushina's heart tightened, her pretty face became more and more moist, and Yizan stared at the girl in front of him with a serious expression. "Little erotic girl, since you like to read this kind of book, I will make a copy myself so that you can read it all at once." Yizan and Kushina were leaning halfway on the sofa, and he held Kushina in his arms. Although Kushina was a little shy, he couldn't resist Yizan's force. "Stinky bastard," she muttered in a low voice, but the two of them stared at the book in front of her. Yizan, the bad guy, obviously wanted to destroy Kushina. "Look at this action. Jiraiya is really an idiot, she is still too young, exaggerated, and the heroine in it is ugly." Yizan commented page by page, and Kushina's eyes were tangled between wanting to read and being embarrassed. She seemed to think of something, and she suddenly patted the book in front of her. "What are you doing? Where's your psychic beast?" "Huh?" Yizan was stunned, he didn't expect Kushina to suddenly ask this question. He taught the slug a lesson before, and punished the slug not to come back for one night, but of course he couldn't say that in front of Kushina. His eyes turned and his face gradually became gentle. "Stand up. You said slug. In fact, after you left, I also found that my behavior was too much, so I apologized to Slug and got her forgiveness, and later I let her return to the spirit world. I am a very good person. A loving person, Tilda." "Really?" "Of course it is." Yizan nodded seriously, with convincing power in those innocent eyes, and just when Kushina was about to believe in Yizan. Bang bang bang. Few soft sounds entered their ears. Yizan and Kushina turned their heads in confusion, and found that outside the closed window, a slap-sized bug was constantly knocking on the window. "Let me in, Tilda, let me in. Woo woo. Xiaoshuan, I was wrong, you can beat me again, let me in." The vague voice made Yizan's face suddenly embarrassed. When he found Kushina's angry gaze, he sighed helplessly. "I really apologize to the little slug, I really am a very caring person, Kushina." I don't listen, I don't listen, I don't listen. You bastard, let her in." Kushina kicked Yizan with her white and tender little feet. Yizan shook his head, got up and came to the window. Whoa! The window was pulled up, and the little slug outside waved its tentacles happily, jumped in quickly, and breathed a sigh of relief. "Saved, Tilda. Save your sister. Talk like you're going to die outside. Little slug, don't talk nonsense." Yizan glared at the slug viciously. Without reminding anything, Kushina slammed over to knock him away, picked up the slug and put it in his hand. "Is your name Slug? It's so pitiful. With such a bastard master. Don't want him anymore. Come with me." Kushina glared at Yizan again and brought the slug back to the sofa. Then, the slug waved its tentacles and jumped onto Kushina's shoulder. "Kushina, you are such a kind and good girl, sign a psychic contract with me." Chapter 196 Entrance Examination. Sign a psychic contract. This was something that even Yizan hadn't thought of. Well, even if you write your name on the scroll, you can get the psychic qualification, but the slug is too sloppy, just because Kushina is a kind and lovely girl. And how is she kind? She is obviously a grumpy little girl who looks at H. Boom. Oops. Yizan shouted, and was hit again by the iron box on the forehead. Kushina Jongkiba rushed to Yizan with claws dancing, his face full of shame and anger. "Stinky hooligan, where am I so bad-tempered? Where did I watch H? You were the one who showed me. You were the sex. You bastard. Smelly hooligan. A big rascal who has no love and no sympathy. Kill you." She was like an angry Xiaoyi cat, waving her claws and scratching at Yizan's face. Yizan ducked left and right, but she couldn't escape, and grabbed Kushina's wrist violently. "Let go of me. I think too much, it's almost like a fart." After Yizan finished speaking, suddenly, a flash of light flashed in his mind. He grinned wickedly, grabbed Kushina's hand and put it behind his ass. PFF'd. PFFT. Was a muffled sound. Before Kushina could react, Yizan squeezed her hand and put it on her nose. Circled.operator_circled.operator. Kushina stayed for a while. A smell rushed into her nose. Her pupil 057 spread out. She broke free, took a few steps back quickly and fell on the sofa. Ah! ______. She stared at Yizan angrily, but Yizan danced with a grin and twisted her butt. Seeing that the two were fighting again, the slug on the coffee table got into a large bag of French fries, eating French fries in small bites. The root tentacles stick out, and the small eyes are full of leisure. It's really comfortable to eat and watch fights. The end. Yizan won the victory. Kushina huddled on the sofa angrily, and when Yizan handed over the fries, she obediently opened her mouth to eat it, and then continued to start thinking. Xiaozan, I want to eat tilde. The slug raised his head and kept praying, but Yizan just rolled her eyes and held onto the big bag of fries, not giving any of them. Woo, Xiaoshuan bad guy. Damn it, when I fought with Kushina just now, you ate more than half of it. Do you still want to eat it now? Think beautifully. Yizan snorted lightly, took out a French fries and stuffed it into Kushina's mouth, then took another French fries, holding them in his mouth, suddenly leaned down, and delivered them mouth to mouth. At this point, Yizan couldn't do anything. He got closer again, and pursed Kushina's lips. Hate. The two kissed, and the slug beside her widened her eyes. After a second, Yizan suddenly pinched her body with one hand and threw it into the bag of chips and snacks. Damn Xiaoshuan, I'm not allowed to see it. The slug protested and waved its tentacles, slowly lying on the fries. The fragrant fries made her smash her mouth, lowered her head, and ate it one bite at a time. After only 2 weeks of Yizan's terrifying torture of Chinese-style hell education, the ninja school was closed. But before the holiday, there was a university entrance exam. Different grades had different difficulties, but the content of the exam was all about experience. The experience of the dead forest. The weather was fine today, the sun was shining brightly, and the birds were chirping cheerfully on the branches. At the entrance of Konoha No. 44 training ground, hundreds of students gathered in the open space to chat. This training ground is said to have the reputation of Death Forest. Hey, today is the annual exam, why are you so listless? The second-year gathering place. Inuzuka-pa patted Nara Shikaku on the shoulder. Shikaku barely opened his eyelids, and after realizing it was Inuzuka-pa, he closed his eyes again and sighed heavily. Hey, I have classes during the day and at night, and I only have half a day of rest every week. I feel like I am living in hell all the time, I am dying. His face was full of sadness. This kind of high-intensity study did not end in a month or two, but accompanied them to graduate for a whole few years. Except for the winter and summer vacations, this kind of day was every week. Shikaku, don't be discouraged. I personally think that this method can indeed speed up the improvement of our strength. You see, before, there were 2 days a week for theory classes and 3 days for practice classes. Now, there are 6 days a week for practice classes, and only evening self-study. He and Jochi came to study theory in the morning. Although we were tired, we doubled the time for practical classes. That is to say, we studied for 3 years, which is equivalent to 6 years of study before, which is very good tilde. Inuzuka's claw not only did not feel tired, but was a little excited. She waved her claw, and her sharp nails actually made several ripples in the air. See, Shikaku, I'm halfway through the practice of the 4-legged technique. Inuzuka's claw was full of excitement, but Nara Shikaku blinked tiredly and nodded perfunctorily. Xiaopao is really powerful, you have to protect us this time for the entrance exam tilde. Protect you. Yes, protect us tilde. 2 voices appeared. Akamichi Choza and Yamanaka Inoichi hunched over their backs, their eyes sunken and dull eyes. Choza, Inoichi, why are you two like this? Inuzuka's claw is a bit strange. He always thought that only Shikaku was lazy, and the other little friends were very hard-working people. 6 days a week of combat classes, and self-study at night, too little time to eat, hungry. Akamichi Choza looked like he was about to die, almost unable to hold the bag of potato chips in his hand. It's not because of the school's new system, but my parents are too strict with me. After school at 9 o'clock every night, they are still receiving family training. It used to be 5 o'clock in the evening to 8 o'clock in the evening, and now it is 9-10 o'clock in the evening. Training until 12 o'clock, plus bathing and washing. Every day's bedtime is delayed until the early morning, tired. Yamanaka Inoichi's face was expressionless, but the resentment in his eyes was like the frost of October, which made everyone shudder. Inuzuka patted Inoichi's shoulder with understanding, and Kuromaru on his head looked at Inoichi, weakly. A whimper. Wong Wu. What happened to Kuromaru? Like you, every night after 9 o'clock, I have to undergo the family's ninja physique training. It is still small and some can't stand it. Looking at Kuromaru's pitiful eyes, Yamanaka Inoichi seemed to have found his own kind, rubbed Kuromaru's head, and sighed with pity. Hey! Chapter 197_graduation assignments for 2 grades. 800 students have gathered, from 1st to 6th grade, not a single one was absent. The new rules of the ninja school were formulated by Yizan. Only Mr. Duanmu told the people in Class A of the 2nd grade about this matter, but no one told the matter, some because of the prestige of the Shimura family, and some because of the relationship with Yizan Oke. For example, at this moment, when Yizan arrived with Kushina, in addition to Inuzuka Claw and Namikaze Minato, a group of friends started the complaint mode, and they all complained about how deceptive Yizan's new system was. What is this? I tell you, all the students of the Celestial Dynasty are like this. What is the Celestial Dynasty? It's a country that I studied in the literature of the samurai era. Most of my current system is made by imitating the education method of that country. Don't worry, although it is very tiring and terrifying, the effect is one. Brilliant, look at Xiaopa, he will soon learn the 4-legged technique before he reaches the 3rd grade. This is the effect. Quote. Inuzuka Claus nodded in agreement, leaving the rest of the friends with ashen faces. At this moment, Yizan suddenly noticed that Makoto's face was exhausted, and his pale face was about to lose its blood. Oops, my darling Makoto, what's the matter with you? Yizan shouted and immediately took Makoto into his arms. He pinched Makoto's face distressed-edly. Makoto's pretty face Yuhi shyly pushed away Yizan's arms. Brother Zan, don't be like this, there are so many people around. She looked around and found that no one was paying attention, so she slowly breathed a sigh of relief. Brother Zan, I am fine, Xiaopao is right, this kind of education will greatly improve our strength, endurance, and resilience to withstand pressure. Although tired, it is very fulfilling. Makoto is weak on the outside, but firm on the inside. Yizan knows this, so he doesn't force it, but gently holds Makoto's hand and encourages him in this way. Judging from the mental outlook of several friends, Shikaku and Inoichi are the most tragic, Makoto and Choza are slightly better, Minato and Inuzuka have the best claw spirit, and Kushina. Well, this girl comes from the country of Vortex, and she has no sense of honor in Konoha at all. She forcibly threatened Yizan to give her a special case. That is to say, Kushina is the only one in the ninja school who leaves school at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and has weekends. In her words, I don't have much feeling for the profession of ninja, but it's not right. I don't have a family here, and I don't need to bear the responsibility of the family. You pissed me off. It's a big deal to drop out of school. Who is afraid of who? In view of this, Yizan had to open a special case for Kushina, and he didn't want to suffer a loss, so he threw himself on Kushina and kissed a few times that night, enjoying a unspoken rule. While the friends were chatting, the entrance to the Forest of Death was finally opened by the teachers. The first-year students are advanced. This is your task, complete the specified task, just go back the same way. The second-year students are advanced. This is your task, complete the specified task and return to the original way. A bunch of students received tasks and entered the forest of death. When the little friends followed the second-year team into the forest, Yizan quietly pinched Kushina and Makoto's butts, making the two women feel ashamed, and glared at Yizan at the same time. At a glance, the students in grades 1, 2, 3, and 4 entered the forest of death one after another, while the students in grades 5 and 6 remained outside. Because of the new system, the ninja school was changed from a 6-year system to a 5-year system. For 6th grade students, it is a graduation exam. In a peaceful era, as long as you can complete the 3-body technique, you can graduate. Unfortunately, now is the war era, and the difficulty of the exam has increased by many times. I am afraid that few candidates will graduate this year. Yizan shook his head regretfully. Since the new system was only implemented, these senior students did not have high-intensity education for many years, and their strength naturally did not improve. Facing the graduation examination set up by Yizan, it was too difficult for them. Let's get started. Yizan glanced at Jonan at the door, and then the man took out 2 scrolls. Due to the school's restructuring, now please come to the chief students of the 5th and 6th grades to collect the tasks. After the person finished speaking, there was a commotion. Soon, a boy in Uchiha costume walked out in the 6th grade, and 2 boys in white clothes and white eyes walked out in the 5th grade. What does this mean? Yizan asked a teacher next to him suspiciously when he saw the 2 Hyuga people walking out of the 5th grade. Yizan had hardly been to the school, except for a few friends. He didn't even know anyone in the class, let alone the seniors. Master Zan, the 6th grader, is the grandson of an elder in Uchiha. Uchiha Sheng is the first in the strength grade, and the 5th grade 2 Hyuga are the sons of the current Hyuga clan chief. The elder brother is called Hyuga and the younger brother is called Hyuga Hazashi. The 2 brothers have a good relationship and are united. Even Uchiha Sheng is no match, but individually, Uchiha Sheng is still stronger. Hyuga and Hyuga Hazashi, I see. Yizan nodded and didn't care about Uchiha's trick at all. Instead, the 2 brothers, especially Hyuga Hazashi, were considered tragic characters in the original work. Just when Yizan was thinking about it, Hyuga and Uchiha had already received the quest scroll. After they returned to their group, they opened the scroll. After a while, there was a commotion in the 5th grade group. How does this happen? To have us in 5th grade against 6th? And to walk to the central tower in the heart of the dead forest in 3 days. It's not fair that they study a full year more than us. The 5th grade students made noises, and the 6th grade students sneered, especially Uchiha Sheng, who raised his head proudly and looked at the 2 Hyuga brothers with disdain. Just when the 5th graders were shouting unfairness, Jonan at the door suddenly burst out with a powerful chakra, which instantly swept the 2 grades and shocked the students who had not graduated yet. He glanced at the 5th grader indifferently, and took out a scroll from his arms. When he finished browsing the scroll, his face changed instantly, and then he immediately concealed his expression and returned to plain again. Chapter 198_follower. During the war, human life was like a must. In order to improve the students' survivability on the battlefield, Konoha executives decided to increase the difficulty of this graduation exam. In this exam, Konoha will send a man with a skull sewn on his sleeve. The chasers attack you. You can choose to fight, or you can choose to run away. The chasers are about the strength of the elite Chunin. He will attack any of you anytime, anywhere. Quote. What? Elite Chunin? Teacher, we are not even genin. How can we beat elite Chunin? I get it. The battlefield is different from the mission. This is to cultivate our teamwork ability. Is that so? Heard that there would be an elite Chunin attacking him. Not only the 5th grade, but even the 6th grade became noisy. Uchiha Sheng, the 6th grade chief student, changed greatly. You must know that because of Uchiha's arrogance, he never looked down on anyone in the school. Although he was the 6th grade chief student, he did not have any friends. The 2 Hyuga brothers are slightly better. Although they also have the arrogance of the big family, the Hyuga family is not as exaggerated as Uchiha. Hyuga Hiyashi is a little bit arrogant, but Hyuga Hazashi has a good personality and is more popular among his classmates. Big brother Hazashi, big brother Hiyashi, can we come with you? Brother Hazashi, our enemy is the entire 6th grade, or all of us will follow you. A group of people stood beside Hyuga Hiyashi and Hyuga Hazashi, hoping to unite, and the two were not stupid. Facing more than 100 6th graders, they didn't believe that they could defeat each other. Don't worry, we are all friends, and we may be colleagues in the future. Let's go together and go together when we encounter danger. What is the elite Chunin? We have more than 100 people. Hyuga Hazashi smiled to comfort everyone, and Hyuga Hiyashi nodded reservedly, agreeing with his younger brother's opinion. And just when the two grades started to form a group, Teacher Jonan at the door noticed that Yizan frowned impatiently. Immediately, chakra erupted again in his heart. Shut up, all 5th grades go in. 6th grade follow me, go to the other entrance and enter the forest of death. These children did not dare to disobey Jonan's words. The 6th grade obediently followed Jonan and left. Before leaving, the brothers Uchiha Sheng and Hyuga looked at each other fiercely, and the air was filled with the smell of gunpowder. Hiyashi Hazashi, be careful with me. Hihi, Uchiha Sheng, you should be careful yourself. If you are really attacked, your teammates may not help you. Don't worry about it, just wait and see. A minute later, there were finally no students in the wide field outside the entrance. Only then did the surrounding teachers and Anbu come over and look at Yizan respectfully. Okay, let's all go in and protect them secretly. Unless there is a death accident, you are not allowed to show up under any other circumstances. If anyone voluntarily gives up the mission to open the changing monkey, bring it out immediately. Everything is for the safety of the students. Quote. As ordered. Shish. Teacher Chunin and Anbu Jonan rushed into the forest of death instantly, and now, at the entrance, only Yizan was left alone. Okay, then I'll start too. Yizan smirked and pulled off his jacket, revealing the Anbu battle uniform inside. Afterwards, he put an evil ghost mask on his face, kicked his feet, and entered the forest of death with a whoosh sound. The chaser is here. Since the tasks of grades 1 to 4 were all completed within 5 kilometers of the death forest, at the beginning, the senior grade tasks were specially reminded that they could only start after 5 kilometers. At this moment, 12 kilometers away from the entrance to the forest of death, a dozen 5th grade students were knocked unconscious by more than 100 6th grade students. They found the Tiantian monkey in the pockets of these dozen people, and pulled hard for a while. A shriek soared into the sky, and yuhi-colored light shot up into the sky. Shish. After only a few seconds, 3 Anbu came here. 15 people in the 5th grade failed the exam. One of the Anbu nodded at the 6th graders, and then each pulled up a few, holding the comatose students on their bodies like a sandbag, and disappeared with a whoosh. So fast. Is this Anbu? One of the students whispered, getting the others to agree. Humph. What is this? It's just an Anbu. Uchiha Sheng snorted disdainfully. As a Uchiha member, he looked down on Konoha's anyone but his family, even Hokage. He thought he could surpass him one day. However, just as he raised his head and nostrils to the sky, a black shadow shot out, hitting the back of his head instantly. Boom. A soft sound. Uchiha Sheng didn't even let out a scream, rolled his eyes, and passed out gorgeously. Uchiha Sheng. Chasers. It wasn't until Sombra stood beside Uchiha Sheng that they discovered the white skull sewn on Sombra's arm. The speed of the piece could not be seen clearly, and the strength of the blow knocked out Uchiha Sheng, causing everyone to collapse in an instant, frantically heading towards him. Fleeing in all directions. Chasers are coming. Run. More than 100 people swarmed and fled, running too far in all directions. Looking at the scene in front of him, Yizan sighed softly and lifted the grimace mask. I ran away without even daring to fight. Sure enough, with the strength of these students now, they can't pass the exam at all, let alone go to the battlefield. Yizan shook his head, picked up the changing monkey in Uchiha Sheng's arms and launched it towards the sky, and after a while, a Konoha teacher flashed 2.0. Masters on. Well, this person failed, take it out and repeat the class. As ordered. The teacher left with Uchiha Sheng, and Yizan put on the grimace mask again. He didn't care where the students were, he just casually wandered in the direction of the central tower. Just as Yizan was wandering around, the two Hyuga brothers and more than 30 well-connected classmates found a cave that was easy to hide and defend. Each of them had injuries on their bodies, not fighting the 6th grade, but the beasts in the forest have already made them feel a little difficult. I'll rest here tonight to recover from my injury and move on tomorrow. Chapter 199 Sudden Attack. Going with a better relationship is to maximize the advantage. The relationship is good, the two Hyuga brothers can only be ordered to move, and only in this way can they have decent cohesion when danger occurs. After all, they were born in a big family, and Hiyashi is the next generation patriarch. They are very smart in this regard. They usually have good relationships, but they have some potential. They also knew that if the 5th grade and the 6th grade played against each other, even with their two brothers around, the 5th grade would not be able to beat each other, so they might as well give up the other dozens of people as bait and let the 30 or so of them succeed. Who made the new system? This exam level is about to approach the difficulty of the Chunin exam. Boss Hiyashi, do you know? Sorry, I don't know who it is. This time the plan was jointly determined by the highest level of Konoha. Although Lord Hokage is far away to fight in the land of Land 05, Konoha still has high-level resident. As for who it is, my father with all the masters of the family on the battlefield, I can't get any news from the family. Hyuga Hiyashi shook his head, disappointing the people around him. If Hyuga's next generation patriarch didn't even know about it, no matter how much they asked, it would be useless. The sky outside the cave was very dark, full of traps, and a bonfire was burning inside the cave. The cave was very wide, and there were more than 30 people in it, and it didn't feel crowded. Just then, a breeze swayed the bonfire, and one of the students used a branch to play with the flames. What kind of wind is blowing? Don't put out the fire, add some more wood. He said. The people around didn't move. Hiyashi and Hazashi looked at each other, frowning. Both of them felt something strange at the same time, but they just couldn't think of it. At this moment, a student not far away threw the branch in his hand into the bonfire. He glanced at the students beside the bonfire and sneered, "Fengjan, you idiot. This is a closed cave, no it's ventilated, how could there be wind blowing in? Oops. Be careful." Hiyashi and Hazashi shouted at the same time, and at that moment, a black shadow suddenly burst out from the dark corner of the cave, and instantly hit a student in the neck, knocking the student unconscious. It's a chaser. What a fast speed. What a strong concealment ability. Is this the elite Chunin? Let's go together. The Hyuga brothers shot at the same time, their hands covered with a layer of light blue chakra, and the two immediately surrounded Yizan. 8 trigrams, 32 palms. 8 trigrams, 32 palms. Bang bang bang. Like a machine gun, the two brothers shot 32 palms at the same time in 2 seconds, and each palm slapped on Yizan's important acupoints, sealing Yizan's chakra. Humph. What about elite Chunin? Hit my 8 trigrams. Boom. Sound. Hyuga Hiyashi flew out backwards, hit the wall of the cave, and slowly slid down. Wow. He fell to the ground and vomited a puddle of blood, bruising his insides. Brother. Hazashi shouted, his eyes were full of shock, he didn't understand at all, the chaser was clearly hit by 8 trigrams, why was there nothing at all? Just when Hiyashi was injured and Hazashi was so shocked that he forgot to attack, Yizan turned around abruptly, his right fist whistled, and a fierce hurricane blew out. Hazashi, be careful. Was picked by the two Hyuga brothers naturally wouldn't escape. Among the 30 or so, the 5 most powerful people rushed towards Yizan, and one of the students who seemed to have practiced physical art even waving his fist in Yizan. For boxing, he obviously has confidence in his physical skills. Boom! Another scream. This confident man flew backwards and crashed into the cave wall, following in the footsteps of Hyuga Hiyashi. Guro. Seeing the injury of this bodybuilding classmate, Hyuga Hizashi reacted immediately, forbearing his worries, and used Gentle Fist again. At this moment, Yizan suddenly turned into a blue light and rushed out of the cave, instantly dodging everyone's attacks. Seeing the disappearing chaser, Hyuga Hizashi was stunned for a moment. Not only did he not relax, but he stared at the entrance of the cave with vigilance on his face, while the other 30 or so people gathered together, all staring at the entrance of the cave. 1 minute, 2 minutes. After a full half an hour, nothing happened, as if the attack was just a hallucination. Hizashi. Brother. Hearing Hiyashi's call, Hizashi realized that he immediately took out a medical bandage and handed over a small amount of medical medicine on his body. It's all right, the chaser should go. Taking the medicine, Hiyashi's complexion finally softened. He leaned against the wall and coughed a few times, his tone a little weak. Don't forget, we are just taking the test. Before entering the forest of death, the examiner said that the chaser will attack anyone at any time. In turn, he will also leave at any time. At least, he will not really kill us. Hyuga Hiyashi's words reassured everyone's fearful hearts. After treating Hiyashi, everyone rescued 283 Guro from taijutsu. The injuries of the two were not light or too serious. He kept his hand. Although he wounded us, he left us at least the strength to act. Why is that? Because in his eyes, he is a cat, we are mice, and he is playing with us. Hiyashi's analysis immediately made everyone look a little ugly. As a group of potential guys, this group of people also believed in the Hyuga brothers, but now, they are actually being played as mice. Brother Hiyashi, what should we do if he attacks us next time? Hit. Beat. Yes, since this is an exam, there must be a way to pass the test. You have also seen his speed, which is ghostly fast. If you run away, it is impossible to escape. The examiner said at the beginning that you can choose to fight, you can also run away, but I personally think that the best strategy is to fight. Don't forget, our last place is the battlefield of the Ninja World War. If dozens of us can't even beat an elite Chunin, in addition to courting death, we will also fight. What's the use? Brother Hiyashi is right. I also support fighting. This exam is like a battlefield. Only by fighting can we win. Chapter 200_Shaozan. Someone wants to eat me. Yizan's time in Konoha, the 3 battlefields in the ninja world basically stopped. On the front of the Kingdom of Wind, Hitaki Sakumo is still slowly eroding the territory of the Kingdom of Wind, but Kazekage is attacking less and less often, as if he has lost his fighting spirit. The fronts of the Kingdom of Thunder and the Kingdom of Earth were more peaceful. Except for the small-scale battle of the Perception Team, the rest of them were stationed in the camp. After analysis, Konoha believes that there is a contradiction within the alliance. The contradiction is mainly concentrated on the 3rd generation of Reikage and Onoki. Both are short-tempered and self-centered people. Abandoning Konoha and attacking the Land of Thunder, these things are not negotiated, and it is difficult to start a war. Konoha's graduates this year were finally determined to be 52. 5th grade who followed the 2 Hyuga brothers, and a dozen people in the 6th grade. These people met the chaser, and fought bravely, and their strength was indeed a little stronger than their peers. It was considered that they passed Yizan's test and officially became a Konoha genin. The exam is over, and the next 2 months are vacations. Within 2 months, the 3 villages of Feng, Tu, and Lei began to conduct extremely intensive information exchanges. They used the top and most precious intelligence ninja beasts in the village. There are only a few of these ninja beasts in the entire ninja world. They are extremely fast and can fly at an altitude of more than 4,000 meters, which is absolutely unstoppable intelligence. School is about to start. Congratulations to everyone on 1010's progress and strength in the new semester. The 2-month vacation was coming to an end. By the small river, Yizan held an orange juice glass to congratulate everyone, but when he heard that the school was about to start, everyone's faces fell. I'm going to die. Nara Shikaku lay on the lawn and kept yawning, thinking that the leisurely vacation was coming to an end. Thinking of the horrible new school system, he felt that the whole world had lost its color and life had lost its meaning. Shikaku, be strong. We are the pillars of Konoha's future. Inuzuka gave Shikaku a glance, and fed a piece of fish meat that had been picked out into the black ball's mouth. Wow! Heiwan wailed in a milky voice, its body shape barely changed, still crawling on Inuzuka's claws, pouting with its tongue out. Inoichi, Kuromaru wants to eat dog food, please bake some tilde. Inuzuka turned to look at Yamanaka Inoichi. Inoichi nodded expressionlessly, and with a squeak, he pulled out a bag of dog food from his arms. Black pill, how much do you want to eat? Wong wong wong. 3, 5, oh, see. Yamanaka Inoichi grilled the dog food for Kuromaru. Inuzuka's paws gave Kuromaru a fishbone. Shikaku lay on the lawn and slept, and Choza grilled his own yakiniku. Yizan and Kushina and Makoto were sitting not far away and chatting. The two women leaned on Yizan's shoulders, one from the other, and there was a burst of laughter from young girls from time to time. As for Namikaze Minato, he practiced alone on the river. During the 2-month vacation, not only was he not lazy, but he practiced harder, and now he has the strength of an elite genin. The bright sun shone down from among the leaves, and found countless light spots on the ground. The lazy afternoon time made everyone feel very happy. At this moment, a palm-sized blue and white bug walked across the lawn. The rustling sound caught Yamanaka Inoichi's attention. With sharp eyes, he suddenly shot and caught the bug. Black Maru, catch a game, let's eat it together. After Inoichi finished speaking, he threw the slug directly on the grill. The slug was dizzy and didn't respond, and a layer of oil was brushed on his body. Hey, what are you doing? The slug flicked her tentacles suspiciously. When she felt that the grill was getting hotter and hotter, her small eyes stared, and she jumped up. Shaozan, someone wants to eat me. Woo! She cried and jumped up, swooping into the river with a whoosh sound, and it took a long time to wash off the oil on her body. The sudden situation attracted everyone's attention, and it was only then that Yamanaka Inoichi realized that he seemed to be in trouble. Zan, big brother Zan, is she your psychic beast? Yizan scratched his head speechlessly, and picked up the slug after seeing the slug climb up weakly on the shore. Shaozan. When he came to Yizan's shoulder, the slug was crying pitifully. Yizan had a headache. He glanced at Yamanaka Inoichi. This kid was quite smart. He trotted over immediately, and bowed 90 degrees to the slug. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I treated you as a game. Please forgive me. Inoichi, this kid didn't have any expression. Call the police. Slug was unrelenting, making Yamanaka Inoichi embarrassed and guilty. Yizan sighed softly and tapped the slug's head with his finger, finally stopping her crying. Okay, little slug, Inoichi is very sincere. He didn't mean it. Forgive him tilde. No, Slug turned his head again, forgiving Inoichi without saying anything. Seeing the appearance of the slug Tsunere, Yizan thought for a while, rolled his eyes, and suddenly had an idea. Well, Inoichi, go to the store and buy 10 packs of French fries, a large package, and buy it as an apology for the slug. Little slug, look how is this? Hearing Yizan's words, the slug waved its tentacles and smashed its mouth. After thinking for a long time, he nodded with difficulty, the big package. Good. Reluctantly forgive him. Go and buy. Go. It's spicy. It takes at least 10 minutes to go back and forth between the riverside and the snack shop. After Inoichi left, the slug was comfortably lying on Yizan's shoulder, and his little head kept fantasizing about delicious French fries. Yizan and Kushina Makoto gathered around the grill. Makoto carefully roasted potatoes for Yizan, and Kushina grilled fish, which was very enjoyable. By the way, little slug, How did you find this place? Is there something wrong? Yizan asked inadvertently, and in an instant, the slug was shocked, and looked at Yizan cautiously. Huh, what's wrong? Slug's performance caught Yizan's attention. Under Yizan's gaze, Slug waved his tentacles in a very shy tone.